These long dog days of summer, I mean, we just made it through a heat wave. Mama was parched through this heat wave. I was hitting up Dunkin' every single day, and I will continue to probably for the rest of my days, but especially this summer. Dunkin' is helping everyone stay cool this summer with its lineup of refreshers. These drinks are packed with bold, fruity flavors and served ice cold. It's amazing. Dunkin' refreshers are the perfect afternoon pick-me-up. I like to start my morning with them personally, and then sometimes I go back for a second one because I'm just feeling crazy. They come in a variety of delicious flavors, including fan favorites mango pineapple and strawberry dragon fruit. And then for a limited time, there's black cherry and there's pink pineapple. I'm going to tell you something right now, and it's a bold claim, let me tell you, but I stand behind it. Pink pineapple will change your life. It is so good. It has me feeling like I'm sitting in a pool, resort side, just living, honey. It's so yummy. Try your favorite flavor with green tea, sparkling water, lemonade, or Dunkin's all-new limeade. I haven't tried the limeade yet, but I'm going to. Usually I get my drinks made with green tea and occasionally lemonade, but I do really like the green tea. Or if you don't want to build your own, try one of Dunkin's curated refreshers like the Cherry Lime Ricky or the Ultimate Pink Daydream. The Cherry Lime Ricky, scrumptious. I could drink like 3 of these a day. They're so freaking yummy. Head to Dunkin' today and find your favorite refresher. Dunkin' refreshers contain less than 1% fruit juice. Limited time offer. You know what's really terrifying? That unfinished college degree lurking in the background, just sitting there waiting for you. That's where Southern New Hampshire University comes in. With flexible online degree programs, there's no commuting, no rigid schedule, and no more excuses. Plus, they have some of the lowest online tuition rates in the U.S. Visit snhu.edu/morbid to learn more before your degree becomes just another story about what could have been. Every good detective needs a partner to support them on important cases. Think of a State Farm agent like your sidekick, there to help you along the way in your search for coverage. State Farm can help you choose the coverage you need, whether it's for your home, car, boat, or even RV. With so many options, it's nice knowing you have help finding what fits for you so you can get back to solving all of life's bigger cases. Go to statefarm.com or use the award-winning app to connect with a local agent and get a quote. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Hey, weirdos, I'm Ash.
And I'm Elena.
And this is Morbid.
This is Morbid.
Yay.
With COVID.
But almost without.
Almost
so
without.
Close to being without.
So close.
She sent her test this morning and it had the faintest line. And I said, well, we're related anyway, and we gotta get back to work. And I'm ready to come in. So.
I've done a good job. We isolated the hell out of me right away. I still don't know where I got COVID, by the way. I don't go anywhere. So there's that.
But like you could, like we were saying, like with the stomach bug, you couldn't even get it off like a Starbucks cup or something.
I know. That's why I'm like, what the fuck? But the good news is no one else got it.
Yeah, that's great.
Like no one else got it.
Dun, dun.
I think we're good at this point, but I think no one else got it. We isolated the hell out of me right away.
Smart.
Thank goodness for John. Shout out to John.
Shout out to Jean.
Shout out to Jean and to my mother-in-law for being the greatest people ever.
Yeah, we love
because goddamn.
I know. I felt so bad for you. I was in the pool at my all-inclusive resort when you texted me. And I sent you a little picture like, oh, that sucks.
And I was like, yeah, I'm dying.
Yeah. I felt really bad. You were like, yeah, I just broke my 103-degree fever. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm drinking a pina colada. Not relatable.
Watching a little lizard run by.
Oh my God, there are so many cute little lizards in Aruba. My little honeymoon.
Aruba's beautiful.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. Take me back.
Take me back.
It was fun, but that was like the longest vacation. No, that was like one of the longest vacations I've ever gone on, and the first we've gone on in a long time. And it was amazing and like a lot of fun. But by the end of it, I think like we got there on Friday, and I feel like by like Wednesday, Thursday, we were like, okay, I want to go home now.
Yeah, you're just like, all right,
we're such homebodies.
We are too.
Yeah.
So it's like I can have a little bit of it, and then I'm like, all right. I want to be home in my pajamas on my couch with my kids.
Yeah, me too with my kids because we were watching them on the cameras.
Oh,
we were watching the cats on the cameras.
Little like, cat kids.
I miss Remy and Franklin and Lux. And I really missed your kids.
I know, they missed you.
Yeah.
It was a wild week.
It was, but I'm back. You're almost COVID free, and
Here we are. Here we are. So we're going to start off 2024 strong.
Yeah.
Ending 2023 really strong.
Yeah, for real.
know?
Wait, you had COVID right around this time last year.
Not last year.
Was that 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago.
Oh God, what is time?
I think it was like 2021. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got it like
yeah, you're right. You're right.
And it was around the same time.
Yeah, around this time last year, you had that crazy stomach bug, and you couldn't do Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, I got the stomach bug on Thanksgiving.
But we got to do Thanksgiving this year, which was nice.
We did. I waited until after.
Good.
And that's what's even funnier is I waited only about a week after Thanksgiving to get COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I really
Not even a full week.
Barely made it happen. But you know, apparently Thanksgiving is tough for me. But
I guess so.
I don't know what it is.
Chill out. Well, I feel like you do a lot. Like you put a lot on your plate, and it's at the end of the year where like your kids already probably brought home something nasty.
That's very true.
So you're run down, and it's
so
like,
I just get it all.
let me attack you.
You know, that's it. But I gotta say, John is like the greatest human ever because he just kept the house running.
Yeah,
kept the kids running.
yeah.
Like just they had their teeth were brushed, their hair were brushed.
That's the thing. Like
They were washed.
They were washed. You
Fed.
posted that video, but I see it all the time of like millennial dads just like being like way more hands on than dads of past generations.
Being parents instead of a babysitter.
Oh my God. I was just gonna say like just raising their kids instead of babysitting.
Because he always hates when somebody will be like, "Oh, is dad babysitting?" And he's like, "I'm not babysitting my fucking kids.
Like, these are mine.
I'm their dad. Like I'm raising them alongside this other human."
Drew said that the other day. He was like, I hate when like dads will say that. And I was like, that makes me want to have like 5
you're like,
million
that's a good
babies
thing.
with you.
That is a good thing. But yeah, he's kept this whole shit afloat. So
Yay.
shout out to John.
And you're so close.
I'm so close.
I can feel it.
I feel great.
Yeah, you look great. You don't even look bad.
Yeah, I feel great. So I'm really just waiting for that little line to disappear.
I do like your hospital socks.
Thank you. I do have
I
do have grippy socks.
like straight up hospital socks.
Yeah, they're straight up hospital
with like
socks.
the little feet on the bottom.
They're comfy.
What the fuck?
I fall a lot. I slide. I can't have bare feet. I'm like walking around like that's fucked up.
Disagree.
Yeah, just in my own head, that's fucked up.
I just hate when my toes feel like too bunched together.
No, my toes can't touch. No, no, thank you.
I'm a free
I need
foot
socks,
lady.
but I have hardwood floors everywhere, and I will fall
True.
in a sock, and it has happened before. So
Yeah, you broke your tailbone once.
just like my kids need to have grippy socks, I need to have grippy socks. So
grippy socks out here.
grippy socks forever. But moving away from grippy socks,
Yeah.
to someone, this is going to be like real depressing. I just want to put that out there like ahead of time. We're going to talk about Velma Barfield.
Okay.
She's a poisoner.
Ooh.
She's a extreme poisoner.
Ooh.
But my goodness, she has the most depressing life
Oh.
ever.
That's
like
sad.
it's just
You're like, welcome back from the island,
welcome
Ash.
back. She's cold as ice, but her like her life just makes you be like, whoa,
Cold
like
as ice.
nothing good was happening here at all. Like there's just no good.
Nothing. Not
So,
one
really
sliver
not.
of good.
I mean, it looks like she, she loved her kids, and her kids seem to love her. And honestly, I feel very much for her kids.
Yeah.
She has a son and a daughter. They seem to love her, and I don't think they got the same person that did these things. So it's like I really feel for them because I'm sure they're still trying to reconcile that.
Yeah, that's like a lot to digest.
And
I'm
that's
sure.
a lot. And again, she has a really fucked up like childhood, and she has a fucked up just life that you're just like, damn, like how were you handed so many bad cards?
Damn.
But some of the bad cards she took on herself. So
All right, let's get into this.
let's talk about Velma.
Okay.
So when Velma Barfield's trial came in the late 70s, which trust me, we'll get to.
The 70s.
It was like late 70s, early 80s. It was the time in the United States when Americans were really just beginning to even deal or grapple with the concept of a serial killer at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like even a male serial killer, any serial killer. Never mind the idea that a woman could commit anything like that.
Right.
And although women had been sentenced to death for murder before in the US, None had confessed to methodically killing multiple people in such a cold-blooded, callous way, and for such a seemingly trivial reason as Velma.
Okay.
So let's talk about who Velma is.
Let's.
Margie Velma Ballard
Margie
was born October 29th, 1932 in Cumberland County, North Carolina.
I think she's a Libra.
She was a Libra like Mikey.
I think, right? October 29th?
Look at that.
I'll double check, but I'm almost sure.
No.
No? Fuck me.
He said that's a Nor.
Hold on, wait. Don't tell me.
What's after Libra?
I know. Just don't tell me for a second.
I won't, 'cause
Sagittarius,
I don't know.
right? Where am I?
Mikey's just going, nope.
October 29th.
Oh, she's a Scorpio.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah. She was the second of 9 children.
Okay.
And her parents were Lily and Murphy Ballard. Unfortunately, she had the displeasure of entering the world during the worst part of the Great Depression. So her early life was tough in many ways. Her father was a farmer, so the collapse of cotton prices hit him hard, financially, very hard. And it became next to impossible for him to earn enough money to support his very much growing family and also support his aging parents, which he had been doing for some time.
Oh.
So in 1935, he gave farming up and went to work for a logging company for a bit, and then he found work at a textile mill in Fayetteville. Now, in Velma's memoir, she wrote a memoir. She wrote, "I was afraid of my daddy. Even while still a small child, he had a violent temper, and none of us wanted to be around when he blew up."
Oh, wow.
According to Velma, nearly anything could set that temper off, no matter how little. And there was no way of knowing what or when it would happen. Like what was going to happen and when it was going to happen.
No rhyme or reason.
And she said, quote, "He usually took out his anger on us kids as well as the furniture."
That's so fucked.
Which, like, can you imagine being such a tiny little person to take your anger out on a small child?
No. Or
Tiny person.
Or even like on furniture in front of your kids, like to create such a violent
Grow the
home
fuck
like
up.
that. Like, what
Grow
are you
up.
doing?
Just grow up. Besides being an asshole, Murphy was not good at managing the family's finances even before the Depression hit hard.
Really?
So that made things worse. He had a strong work ethic and wasn't afraid of a full day's work, but he also really wanted to impress people. He was a keep up with the Joneses kind of guy, and he would spend money on trivial things for himself instead of things the family needed.
So he was already setting them up for
Selfish
failure
as well.
even before the Depression happened.
A relative once said he bought what he wanted instead of what he needed. His pocketbook was always too small for his operation, if you know what I mean. So Lily, the mother, would try to do whatever she could about Murphy's explosive anger and violence. She would try to like intervene, try to smooth things over to try and stop him from reacting to everything with anger. And she would hide incidents or any accidents that happened that would lead him to abusing the kids.
Oh.
So if they had an accident, like knock something over, she would be like, "That was me." You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
like,
Like
take
she
it
would
out
just
on
take
me.
it on. Now, unfortunately, she was rarely successful. And Velma came to resent her mother for the way she tolerated and catered to her father, what she thought was catering to her father, and for what she saw as failing to protect her children from his wrath,
Yeah.
which obviously
The times were very
that's
different.
tough. And honestly, it's like I can't imagine being in Velma and the children's place, and I can't imagine being in Lily's place.
No, it's impossible.
One day when Velma was 12, she asked her mother, "Mama, why do you put up with him? Why do you stay with him like this?" When she was 12.
Wow.
And the answer, of course, was that Lily had nowhere else to go.
Right.
And she definitely didn't have the resources necessary to raise 9 children by herself. And that was the story in a lot of these households that we come to, especially in this time period. It was just a matter of, I can't do this by
Couldn't
myself.
do it alone.
But to Velma, who was 12, she thought that excuse was insufficient. She said, "I'd sure find someplace else to go, and I will too when I get older." Unfortunately, that's not true.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like you just don't have the life experience to know the position that your mom is in
Exactly.
at that age.
Of course not. You're 12. You just
think
look at
you
it as
have all
this
the
is a
answers.
terrible situation.
You want
Why
out.
would you deal with it? And you can understand she's 12. She has no fucking clue how hard it is to do anything else.
Yeah.
You know, to get out of that situation
And
and
to
how
swing it.
dangerous it is.
Right.
Now, as a child, Velma sought to escape in school, and she was a very good student.
Oh, that's good.
But she didn't do well being grouped in with many other children. She didn't do well with team things.
Huh.
which I feel that as well.
I saw a little glimmer in your eye there.
I was like, same. Even though she was a good student, the teachers would often kind of like chastise her or punish her for her boisterousness and unruly behavior. And noted her tendency to have angry outbursts when things didn't go her way.
Even as a young girl.
Yeah. So she's learning.
Setting the groundwork.
Murphy is teaching her, when you don't get your way, you beat the shit out of the furniture or someone else around you. That's what you do.
Use outburst.
So it's like, you teach your kids how to react. And it's like, this is a perfect, and it's like, also, who knows if it's like a genetic component there that she's just got anger in her blood that she's going to have to figure out how to control or not.
And Scorpios are fiery.
There you go. So to make matters worse, many of Velma's classmates came from families that were much better off than her own. And this was made apparent to everyone because she would come to school in secondhand clothing or handmade clothing. And she always brought a very small, very kind of sparse lunch with her.
That's so sad.
And in order to try to, minimize this bullying that she was facing, Velma started stealing coins from her father's pants pockets and using it to buy candy and other things for classmates. Kind of like trying to buy herself into like people liking her.
Right.
And it seemed to work a little bit, but it's not a great way to, find friends, I guess.
No.
She's not learning a lot of really great lessons here. Now, when she reached her teenage years, Velma started dating Thomas Burke, who was a boy she met at church. And he was a boy her father greatly disapproved of.
Uh-oh.
For the most part, they seem to, like just hang out, do some mundane activities like drive around, go to the movies, like normal teenage stuff. But Velma often had a difficult time enjoying herself. She later said, as much as I like being with Thomas and going places with him, I was bothered by thoughts that I should be home instead. I think Velma had like the weight of the world on her shoulders
Sounds
at
like
too young of an age.
Probably depressed.
She was thinking about too many problems. Because she was probably thinking about, like her brothers and sisters and, her father's an angry, scary guy and her mom. And she probably feels some kind of responsibility at a way too young of an age to be in the home to try to intercede things.
That's just really tragic.
Getting paid twice a month doesn't mean money is scarce. It just feels that way. That feeling makes you do weird stuff, like putting things on a card you didn't need to. Earnin removes that feeling. With Earnin, you can access up to $150 per day of money you've already earned, plus up to $1,000 between paychecks. Standard transfers take 1 to 2 business days with no mandatory fees, and expedited transfers start at $3.99 and cap at $5.99. 5 million people are already on it, and honestly, it's wild it didn't exist sooner. Download Earnin on the App Store or Google Play, spelled like earning money without the G. Type in Morbid under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Earnin is a financial technology company, not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors. Standard cash outs take 1 to 2 business days with no mandatory fees. Expedited transfers available for a fee. Tips are voluntary and don't affect the service. Available in select states. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details. Chilling crime cases are mysterious, but finding coverage shouldn't be. With the State Farm Personal Price Plan, you have options and can personalize your plan to help create an affordable price so you can get back to cracking all of life's bigger cases. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can choose to bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Head to statefarm.com to get a quote. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Now, she's felt this strange pull, which I understand in these situations, to live up to her father's expectations. No matter how unreasonable they were, she just didn't want to disappoint him because he was scary. And her relationship with Thomas started to become a kind of a welcome escape from the violence at home. And, she had the violence at home and then the kind of challenging environment at school that she was still trying to navigate. And one evening, about a year into their relationship, Thomas and Velma were driving home from a movie when he turned to her and said, "Velma, let's get married."
Random.
Now, immediately she panicked because she knew her father would lose his mind and would definitely not allow it and would probably react with violence if it was even brought up to him. But the question caused her immediate anxiety, and she was like, you know what? I enjoy being with Thomas. This is a nice escape. So she's like, you know what? I might not know if I love him or not. And I don't love him the way that he loves me, but
it's a
I
way
kind of
out.
want to do this. So a few days later, while they were driving, Velma brought up the subject because she didn't immediately answer him. And she reminded Thomas that her father would definitely not approve. And this time, however, there were additional complications. Her father had found a new job and would be moving the entire family to Wade, which was about an hour away.
Oh, okay.
And so Thomas said, then let's get married right away. So Thomas said, before your daddy leaves, let's just elope. Now, although she wasn't exactly sure, again, whether she really loved him or just the thought of, losing him was upsetting her, she didn't want to lose him. And she figured, being uprooted from her current life, no matter how distressing it is, would kind of stress her out more because she's kind of used to this awful routine.
So it's kind of like choosing the lesser of two stresses.
Exactly. So, but she ended up agreeing to his plan, and the two began making plans to run off and get married. On December 1st, 1949, Velma's friend Alvy Pender came by the house to pick her up for what she told her parents was going to be just a night out. Then the two of them picked up Thomas, and the three of them drove to nearby Dillon, South Carolina, where Velma and Thomas were married, and Alvy was their witness.
Okay.
Once they were married, they returned to their respective homes and didn't say a word.
Okay.
They planned to spring the news on Lily and Murphy just before they moved. So they figured that would mitigate some of the negative reactions, but I don't know about that.
Or probably just they would have less time to take it out on you.
Yeah. Now that plan only lasted a little more than a day because Thomas convinced Velma that they needed to tell their parents. But Thomas was like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Now Velma decided to start with her mother.
Smart.
Hoping she could convince Lily to tell Murphy. But her mother was like, no. And she was essentially like, you did this, you tell him, I
can't say I blame her. I'd be like, girlie, you're a married woman now.
She was like, and she literally was like, you got married? This is your stuff to tell. So the next day, Velma told her father about the marriage, and he reacted slightly as expected. He yelled, he threw things, he demanded they get the marriage annulled. But then all of a sudden, he sat down, put his head in his hands, and started sobbing.
What the fuck?
This was obviously very unexpected. She had never seen her father sob.
Very unnerving.
And he was usually violent and angry, so this was just not... She was like, what the fuck?
So
immediately, she felt overwhelming guilt. And she was like, I shouldn't have married Thomas. What the fuck did I do? And she actually never learned why he reacted that way. But she said from that moment on, there was a drastic change in her and her father's relationship.
I wonder if it was a moment of self-realization for him of it was so bad that she saw this as her ticket out, and what does she see in this guy?
That's exactly what I think. I think he violently disapproved of this guy, which, as we will find out, Thomas ends up being not a great husband. And he violently disapproved of this guy. And so he's looking at this guy like, there's no fucking way in hell you're going to marry this guy. And she goes and does it.
Right.
And he probably is sitting there, like you said, being like, she had no other option to get away from me.
I drove
but to
her
marry
to
this guy, who I know is not a good guy.
It seems like it really was a moment of clarity.
And it's I wonder if he was just like, what the fuck have I done?
Right.
I really do think that was a moment, which it's I'm glad it came, but my God, dude, it came too late.
Too little, too late.
It's
dude.
and it also looks like, and spoiler alert, later it looks like Lily and Murphy end up really loving being grandparents. They fall really hard into the grandparent role. So I do wonder if this was the moment that Murphy just said, fuck,
I gotta turn
what have I
this
done?
around.
And then his grandkids really brought that fatherly thing out in him.
Right.
Which you hear about that sometimes where somebody's a fucking shit parent and then they become a grandparent and you're and the kid is why weren't you like this for me? But you're which is great that you're like this for my kids.
But
I'd rather my kids having this, but I would have loved this.
Yeah. And where obviously the side of you was there.
It's there.
Somewhere in there.
So why didn't you give it to me? But it's strange. It's a strange phenomenon.
Family trauma.
Yeah, exactly. But Velma wrote, oddly enough, after that night when I told Daddy about my getting married, he wasn't mean to me ever again.
Wow. I just got chills.
Yeah,
I don't know
isn't
why.
that a wild one? Now, days later, Velma left her parents' house to live with Thomas and his parents a few miles away. and finally free of all the, abuse, the violence that had basically dominated her life for 17 years, Velma, you think, would feel relieved,
Yeah.
But she couldn't shake the feeling that she had fucked up and she had hurt her family deeply. And that was what kept sticking to her, was I feel like I did something wrong. I hurt my family.
Oh.
Now, in retrospect, Velma remembers the first few years of her marriage to Thomas as, quote, the happiest years of her life.
Okay.
So there was good times. Shortly after the wedding, they both dropped out of school. Thomas got a job at the cotton mill in nearby Red Springs, and they spent most of 1950 and early 1951 living with his parents. Things were generally good.
That's great.
Unfortunately, though, the job at the mill was tough. Thomas fucking hated it, so he ended up quitting in early 1951. They then moved in with Velma's oldest brother, Olive, and Thomas found work as a salesman with Double Cola Bottling Company. Now, Thomas's job with the cola company paid enough that they were able to actually get a house of their own, a small house of their own, a few months later. And soon after, Velma became pregnant and gave birth to her son, Ronald, who they called Ronnie.
Cute.
On December 15th, 1951. And she later wrote about this, I was thrilled beyond words. I cried. I was so happy. Now, bless his heart, he was ugly, but I thought he was the prettiest baby I had ever seen.
What the fuck, Velma? She just called your kid ugly?
Velma girl.
I thought parents weren't even capable of realizing
I
that their
know.
kids
I
were
was like,
ugly.
damn. I thought there
Shit.
was other people that realized that.
Damn.
But
Bless his heart.
Yeah.
He was ugly.
He was ugly, but I thought he was the prettiest baby. And it's like, maybe he
like, but-
was then.
Well, it's like, well, did you?
Maybe he was just straight up the prettiest baby, like you thought he was.
Damn, Velma.
But 2
That went
years
hard.
later, Velma gave birth again on September 3rd, 1953, to a daughter they named Kim.
Cute.
Now, in the book we are going to link on here, the Bledsoe book, he refers to her as Pam because
Sometimes
she is
that's like a
referred to as
nickname.
Pam sometime. Is that a nickname for Kim?
I don't know if it's for Kim,
Oh, I was like, why? That's the
Why?
same amount of letters.
but I'm thinking, tell me if I'm wrong. In The Great Gatsby, doesn't she call her daughter Pammy at one point? I think it was like a nickname of endearment. I don't know if I'm
Oh,
making
is
that
it?
up though, because I know her daughter wasn't named Pam, but I feel like she does call her Pammy, or maybe it's in another book that I read.
I can't remember.
I'm gonna look it up. I think
Yeah.
back then it might have been like oh, you little cutie, like you little
Oh,
Pam.
really?
I think. I don't know if I'm just like
Because
having a moment of
this is-
delusion.
The Bledsoe book is just like about this case, so I don't know why he would refer to her.
Unless
as
like
that.
she wrote about her in that way, like
Well,
called,
she refers to her as Kim.
huh?
That's the thing. It doesn't, it's like,
Maybe
It's a
later in life she
strange-
started going by Pam.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know,
I don't really know.
but I want to look it up because now I'm like, am I delusional or is that a thing that I've heard before?
I'm sure it's a thing. I have faith in you.
Thank you. I'll interrupt you in a
This
minute.
is me having faith in you.
Oh wait, hold on.
Oh, you
Google
found it?
just filled in the rest for me. No, I don't know.
You're like, no. Just kidding. I've never heard that, but I don't doubt you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I thought I heard that at one point in life.
I don't know.
Email me if I'm right.
Let's see. Email me if I'm right. If I'm wrong, don't say
email me.
anything.
If I'm wrong, shh.
Just shh. But yeah, she had a daughter named Kim who is referred to as Pam and in some other sources.
All
but
right.
at the time, the birth of a second child really only brought more joy into what was feeling like a all right life at that point.
I'm like, where did it all go wrong?
I know. Well, Velma later said, I loved my children. And somewhere in those first 2 or 3 years, I learned to love my husband.
Mm.
Now, even their relationship with Velma's parents, Lily and Murphy, like I said, had been better. And like I was saying before, both Lily and Murphy loved being grandparents.
Yeah.
They loved Ronnie and Kim.
And it sounds like the relationship with Thomas's parents was good
Was
too.
great
lived
because they were
together for
living
so
together.
long.
Yeah. So Velma didn't just love being a mother. She was, by all accounts, very good at it.
Wow.
Ronnie, her son, later said, I wouldn't say I was a mama's boy, but I was close to it. I really loved my mama to death. A real adoring type love.
Oh.
Which breaks
Ruined me.
my heart for these kids. Because I'm like,
'Cause you know
they
what
saw
happens.
someone different than the rest of the world saw. And I don't want to ever like take that from them. You know what I
No.
mean? Like, it's like,
And you can't.
this story is
Nobody
a
could
rough
take that.
story and she did some fucked up shit. But I feel for them that they got that different side of her because what a mind fuck that is.
That's always so
You know?
interesting to me too. Like we've talked about murders before where like their family at home had no
Yeah.
idea what was going on. Like their wife never knew, their husband
Yeah.
never knew. And it's like, it's so interesting to me how you can hide that part of yourself from other people.
Compartmentalize these pieces of you and give love. Or
Yeah,
what you think. I don't even know. I don't know how to classify it, because it's like, I believe she loved her kids. Like, from
Right.
all accounts, they loved her and she seems to have loved them. So it's like, how do you compartmentalize like evil and love inside of you? That's
I don't know,
an
but people
interesting
do
thing.
it.
People do it all the time.
It's even like Israel Keys, like he was one of the most terrifying people we've ever
Yeah.
spoken about, but like loved his dog
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
So you are, because a lot of times you hear like, oh, sociopath, not capable of
No.
love whatsoever. But I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, because he had strange. Well, not every killer is a sociopath.
That is true.
That's the thing. So I think that's one of the issues, is it gets to be a blanket thing
Blanket
for
term.
everybody. And it's like, so there's so many variables in all of these cases. That's why even entering into this like podcast in the beginning, I was unaware how many variables lie within each different case. Like, you think it, like, I went in thinking like, you're a psychopath.
Every
You
killer.
kill people, you're a psychopath.
Same.
That's it. And it's like that is indeed the case in many cases, but it's like
not
there's
all.
so many other things at work. It's fascinating and horrifying. Like, it really is.
It is an interesting study though, just like the psychology of it
Yeah,
all.
and I don't know if we'll ever fully grasp it.
I think there's more to it than just science.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. Like, this is a perfect example, because when you see how cold and callous she is about what she does,
Yeah.
it's really hard to reconcile the mother in there. But I mean, I'm glad the kids got, a loving mother, I suppose, out of it.
Yeah.
But they didn't have an easy life. That's
No.
for sure. These kids did not have an easy childhood. A
Things
lot was
started
going on.
to get bad with Thomas at some point.
And things started, it was tough.
They unraveled a bit.
But again, like Ronnie said, he loved his mother. And actually on occasions where she had to be separated from her children for any kind of period of time, she said that she would feel physically ill, and she would only be able to feel better once again when she was with them.
Wow.
And this became a bigger problem when Ronnie entered the first grade and Velma took a job at a textile mill, because she was working the overnight shift. So there would always be someone home for the children. So like Thomas would work the day shift. She would be
go
home
at night.
She would work at night and he would come home.
But then that means she probably missed out on a lot of seeing the kids because they were at school during the day.
Exactly. Now, a few years later, in 1962, Velma began having significant health problems and was eventually diagnosed with fibroid tumors on her uterus.
Oh, wow.
This caused intense pain. Anybody who's had to deal with that, and heavy bleeding. Velma's doctors said they strongly recommended a hysterectomy to take care of this. And they said it was really the only way to eliminate the problem completely. Her brother John later said after she had that hysterectomy, seemed like she was never the same again.
That's interesting.
And later, Velma would acknowledge that this period was a major turning point in her life.
I feel like I've heard that with other women too that undergo hysterectomies.
Well, the
and
hormonal
change
changes are significant.
Vast, yeah.
And after the surgery, the doctors warned her of this, the hormonal changes that could very much be disruptive. But she said lately, like, there's no way to prepare for it. The shift in your moods and emotions in the weeks and months that followed. And she wrote later, I didn't know how to handle my nerves. From my early childhood, when anything upset me, it made me nervous and afraid. All of that got worse after my hysterectomy.
That's really sad.
And I think that's part of the issue here, is like she grew up in such a tumultuous and traumatic childhood that she's already got a lot to contend with.
Mm-hmm.
And then you throw hormonal
imbalance,
wildness in there, just like that you can't control and can't even conceive of. I can't even imagine what that will do.
Right. And back then they didn't have the medicine that could regulate
That's the other thing. That's the problem here, is there wasn't a lot to do. And she found that her emotions were much stronger after the surgery. And she had a lot of intrusive negative thoughts. And they were being harder and harder to combat. And she said, I had hidden my feelings and kept so much inside me that I had built up over the years. As I got older, I still didn't know how to do anything about the anger and the guilt. In the 1960s, like we were just saying, talk therapy as we know it today was in its infancy, to say the least. Mm-hmm. And mental and emotional health care was still a very taboo subject. And this was particularly true for the average American housewife who,
Oh, yeah.
in the mid 1960s, it was a different kind of situation. They were undergoing a kind of identity crisis at this point because there was a huge shift in the meanings and identities of women and mothers in Western culture. So, without any professional help or even just like a social network that she could turn to for any of these problems, she attempted to do as she had always done, which is just keep things to herself, push all the negative feelings down, and just hope they go away.
Right.
And
And that's not gonna happen.
recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And before long, her fluctuating moods and instability started taking a toll on her marriage, which by 1965 had already kind of hit a rough patch.
Yeah.
Thomas's father had passed away, and he received some minor injuries in a car crash.
Oh, wow.
And as a result of the car crash, he had been in pain, so he had started drinking more than usual as a means of escape.
Oh, no.
This was soon exacerbated by him joining a civic organization in which the members were also heavy drinkers. Velma said, as Thomas started to drink more, his whole personality changed.
And that was probably really triggering for her from her childhood.
Exactly. And now she's trying to protect the kids, too, from this whole thing.
She's become her mother, who she resented so much.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a real cycle of sadness in this episode. It really is.
Yeah.
Now, already stressed out by her own issues going on and, you know, the emotional stuff, the lingering effects of surgery, which she's still trying to get over. That's like massive surgery.
Oh, yeah.
Velma struggled to understand or even tolerate her husband at this point.
Well, and she had already had to learn to love him.
Exactly. So having this happen was like, no.
That can unravel something.
So their relationship was reduced to little more than her losing her patience and starting arguments with him and him drinking heavily and starting arguments back.
Oh, fun.
She said, we had so much good in the first years of our marriage that I couldn't accept the difference. And that's the other thing. It's such a slap in the face because it's like the beginning was so good.
Right.
And now it's just shit. And
Right.
it's like, and it seems like it happened like boom.
It's like, where did we veer off
Yeah.
here?
Now, Velma blamed, one thing we will find out about Velma, she's been through a lot. She's been dealt a lot of shitty cards. But Velma is one of those people that has trouble taking any kind of responsibility for her own stuff,
Right.
too. She only blamed Thomas and his drinking for anything that was going on in that household or that marriage. But she was also she had an explosive temper.
Yeah, it takes two.
You know what I mean? It's not like they were, you know, getting along and then like he started drinking and everything went south.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, and obviously the hysterectomy happened and that's not her fault. That's her dealing with those hormonal, you know, fluctuations. But when she's already going into it with an explosive temper
Mm-hmm.
and no patience,
Yeah.
it's like this is all a recipe for disaster.
Big time.
In the mid 1960s, they had fallen on hard times financially.
Oh,
And
God.
Velma started writing a number of bad checks that once discovered to be fraudulent, she was told she had to pay the money back.
I always wonder why people think that's a good idea.
They always
'cause
go
you're
to bad
always
checks.
gonna get caught.
Always.
Like, don't fuck with the bank.
it's a legitimate paper trail.
yeah. I
Like
don't get
it's
that.
physical paper. Like
in
you're
the-
not going to get away with that.
In the end, it's just gonna cost you more that you don't have.
Exactly. And because it's just the desperation
Yeah.
usually and it's get me out of it. It's the mindset that a lot of these people have, which is
Fix it right now.
fix it now, deal with it later. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna try to come up with an actual plan. I'm gonna just get it out of my way right now.
I feel like the worst possible way to deal with it. Don't fucks with the bank.
Don't do it, man. They're rough. To make matters worse, Thomas had a falling out at the cola company and impulsively quit his job.
Oh, with nothing lined up.
Yeah, which is bad.
Bad.
And it was several months before he found another job. So there was a big lack of time. So
That's
she
not
was
good.
desperate. This was desperation time. Finally, and probably more importantly, Velma began having severe back pain in 1964, and it led to a doctor prescribing her pain relieving tablets, which Velma quickly grew addicted to.
And God only knows what was in those back then.
And I can tell you right now, this pill addiction that she has becomes the basis of a lot of her bad decision making.
Really?
By 1968, Velma and Thomas's relationship was just deteriorating. She was becoming increasingly reliant on pain medication for basic functioning, and he was retreating deeper into alcoholism. So this was just really sad. And at the same time, the children are now teenagers. So they become more independent and kind of defiant at that time, and just defiant in a way that normal teenagers can do, especially teenagers in a home that's unstable.
Absolutely.
And it's that they're dealing with a lot. So the whole family dynamic was very strained. By then, Velma's personality had changed in a lot of ways. And like her father, she was becoming much quicker to anger. I didn't read anything that said she was much quicker to anger with the children.
Okay.
It was Thomas.
Yeah.
She said anything that my husband would do to agitate me. She said the slightest inconvenience or the slightest anything she perceived as a slight or annoying, she would lose her mind. And I guess the children would try to de-escalate the situations a lot and try to separate them.
Wow.
Ronnie, her son, said she wanted to stay and fight and yell. She was very combative. So that's even him saying, like, this was a different person.
Yeah.
This was somebody who wanted to just fight. Now, throughout the later part of the 1960s, Velma had done her best to try to fix things. She tried to get her Thomas into a rehab program. She actually checked him into one for drinking.
What about you, girl?
And and that's the thing. She paid virtually no attention to her own physical and mental health.
Right.
She was kind of just, which you don't know what the thought process there was, if she was in denial thinking she didn't have the issue, or if she was just like, I'm going to suck it up and deal with it, but let's get him fixed.
Okay.
I don't know which one that was. I'm not Velma.
No.
But she really ignored her own shit.
Well, and it seems like she already resented him so much and had so much against him that it's one of those things where it's like he's the problem, not me.
Exactly. She has a nasty habit of blaming everybody else, and it seems like this is one of those things where Velma just said, "Well, he's the fucking problem."
Right. Like once he's better, I'll be fine.
Yeah, everything will be fine. He's the problem.
And I'm sure, and this is just me guessing, but like she would probably get irritated with him, and that would lead her to using more in her own addiction.
Exactly, because it was the stress and the frustration, all that.
So maybe she figured if I get him taken care of, then I won't be so annoyed all the time.
Yeah. Now, by 1968, the stress and anxiety she'd been pushing down for decades did finally come up. It came to head.
Oh no.
She collapsed in her kitchen, where the last thing she remembered was getting up to make breakfast for the kids.
Wow.
Thomas was too drunk to help her in this situation.
Oh no.
And so it was Ronnie, her son, who had to call his grandfather Murphy.
Oh wow.
And Murphy drove Velma to the hospital. This is what I mean with like Lily and Murphy really
turned around
and became like the lifeline here.
But then they saw like look what happened.
Look what's happened because of everything that's,
like they're in the same situation that we've been in.
Yeah.
And it's worse.
Yeah, it's such a cycle.
Generational trauma is wild.
It is. It's horrifying. Now, she ended up being admitted for what she would later be told was a nervous breakdown.
Wow.
Velma remained in the hospital for observation and treatment for about a week, and then she was discharged with a prescription for tranquilizers.
Oh, no.
And a strong recommendation that she seek mental health treatment and get professional help with her marital issues as well. Getting out of the hospital, she didn't take any of that advice. The marriage just continued to disintegrate. She just kept on keeping on. And she turned to the tranquilizers now, relying on them to make life more bearable. She said, I found I could cope better if I took it. And then not just one, I knew that two would be better than one. I could feel that.
Oh.
Now, as 1968 came to a close, there wasn't much of a relationship between Velma and Thomas left. He was really losing a battle with alcoholism. It had consumed him so much that he ended up losing his job. He was unemployed for much of that year. And that just added more stress financially. And although he would try and occasionally get better, he would go short periods without drinking. Like it really never lasted long, and he would fall right back into it.
It takes your whole life.
I can't imagine. I really can't. And the more Thomas drank, the stranger his behavior became. According to Jerry Bledsoe, the book I was talking about before, he said at times he would sit in the car in the carport, drunk, revving the engine at full speed, sometimes until the car ran out of gas.
Strange.
And when Velma or one of the kids would try to intervene, he would become physically or verbally abusive until passing out inside the house. So it's just awful.
Yeah.
It's just like an awful.
Bleak.
Now, by the winter of 1969, Thomas had managed to find work at the mill. The mill was his first job that he had, the one he fucking hated.
And he had to go back to it.
Yeah.
In this shape.
Yeah. And at first, Velma was like, you know what? Maybe after so long and after being unemployed for so long, maybe this is what's going to do it. It's going to snap him into like a routine. He's going to have to go to work. He's going to have to get it together. But she said having to go back to the mill was a real blow to his pride, and he seemed to drink even more. Now, as that got worse, so did the fights that they seemed to have every single night. One evening in March, Thomas came home drunk, and the inevitable fight happened. And Velma was telling her husband that she couldn't put up with her drinking and this fighting anymore. And Thomas passed out on the couch, and Velma packed a suitcase for herself and for Kim, her daughter, and they went to stay with her parents, while Ronnie, who was now almost an adult at this point, stayed behind because he told his mother someone needs to take care of Dad.
Oh my God. So their whole family just got fractured.
And it's like these kids.
Too much responsibility.
So much responsibility. And it's like Ronnie just especially, because we don't find out a lot about Kim.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she was the same way. But we see that Ronnie like just loved his parents. And you can tell that he just like wanted to be a good son.
And like wanted them to be better. Like wanted to help them.
Yeah, he just wanted to take care of them. He wanted to be a good son.
That's so
like
sad.
Looks at his mom as like, someone needs to take care of Dad. I will stay here to take care of him.
And it's like you shouldn't have to take care of your parents.
I know. It just breaks my heart.
Age.
It really breaks my heart. But like, what a good son.
Yeah.
And when Thomas came to the next morning, Ronnie told him about the whole thing. Was like, yeah, do you remember any of this? And he was like, you know, Mom left and is fully intending on divorcing you. So, like, you've really done it this time.
Like, you fucked up.
And Ronnie blamed his father's drinking because he was like, this is your fault. And Thomas blamed Velma's pill addiction. And he was nonetheless remorseful, though. And he was like, I don't want this to happen. This shouldn't be what ends everything. And he told his son, I want to get sober. I want to bring this family back together.
Wow.
And he said, like it was when you were younger. Like, I want it to be like that. Now, later that afternoon, Ronnie told his mother this, like what his father had said, and everybody was very hopeful at this moment. So Velma came home.
That's like the worst.
I know, the hope.
Yeah.
And for a few days, there was like an uneasy, like chillness, like peace in the house.
But everybody was probably so trepidatious.
Yeah, and Thomas managed to make it about a week without drinking. And Velma did her best to take her pills as directed.
Right.
But then it was just too late. Too much damage had been done to the relationship, and honestly, neither of them knew how to fix it, and neither of them knew if they really wanted to fix it at this point. So after a couple of weeks, things in the house, unfortunately, returned right to the way they were before Velma left, and it was pretty clear to everybody that, you know, like it was clear to her that Thomas wasn't going to change. Thomas knew she wasn't going to change, and that marriage was over.
Damn.
Now, several weeks later, on the weekend of April 19th, Ronnie and Kim decided to go, you know, they needed to get away from their parents' endless fighting and this whole thing that had turned into. So they went to stay with Lily and Murphy, their grandparents, for the weekend.
What? They're like, we need to get away from that, so we're going to go to Lily and Murphy, who are like super chill now. But
exactly. And I'm like, damn, you should have known. But Velma was home alone that morning when Thomas stumbled in after getting off of work, clearly drunk. They exchanged at this point, they were barely speaking to each other if they weren't fighting.
They're like roommates.
So they were like, just hello. And Thomas sat down on the couch and lit a cigarette, but then he started passing out. So the lit cigarette was still in his mouth, and Velma noticed that it fell out of his mouth and rolled down his shirt. So she ran to grab it before it like burned a hole in him. And she basically yelled at him and was like, you know what? Like, you're burning your, and she literally said, burn yourself up for all I care. Like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
Like, she had enough. And so when she yelled this, Thomas woke up and he got off the couch and went into the bedroom where he lay down on the bed and went back to passing out. Now, Velma was fucking frustrated at this point. So she left the house, went to her parents' house, and picked her mother up to take her out shopping for the afternoon.
Oh.
Later that afternoon, she came back to her house and she came in to find it filled with thick smoke.
Oh, no.
Couldn't find her husband, so she ran outside just as Thomas's sister Frances happened to be driving by the house, and Velma was shouting for her to call the fire department. The volunteer fire squad arrived minutes later, made their way through the house, and they hadn't been in there for more than a minute or two when they came out to get a stretcher. They came back out, and they were carrying Thomas on a stretcher. Velma was begging them to tell her what the fuck happened. And she said, I kept begging, but they wouldn't tell me anything. Inside, I knew he was already dead.
Oh, God.
Now, later that day, the fire inspector told Velma that Thomas had died from smoke inhalation. It appeared as though he had fallen asleep in bed with a lit cigarette, but at some point he must have woken up because it looked like he had tried to stomp on the rug, trying to put the fire out. And according to the investigator, there was very little damage from the fire, only a small part of the mattress and the pile of clothes on the floor. And the floor underneath appeared to be ruined. But otherwise, everything was pretty much unharmed.
Okay.
The official cause of death was listed as smoking in bed. And the case was closed. And they think like he was, he was really drunk, so he couldn't get out of the house.
Right.
Like,
what a way to go.
And Thomas's death was a tragedy, and it hit the family, the children, and Velma really hard. And no matter what, this was not the outcome anyone was looking for, obviously. Now, in the months after Thomas's death, Velma came to rely even more on the tranquilizers to get her through the day. The life insurance policy on Thomas barely covered the funeral or any of the other costs associated with his death. And that meant that Velma didn't have the luxury of taking any moment off from work to grieve.
Right.
Go through any of it.
And
He was still her husband.
Yeah.
As much as that whole relationship had disintegrated and it was shit, that's the father of your children. You were still living with him. You hadn't divorced yet.
Yeah, there's always some kind of love there, I'm sure.
There's something. There's something there, and that's just a shock.
Yeah.
And so Velma pushed herself to stay focused on work, which was at Belk's department store.
Okay.
She'd been employed there for several years. And it gave her something to focus on. It filled her days up. She was just really like moving forward. And she also liked it because she could take rare moments aside to chat with her friend, Pauline Barfield, who worked in the store next to Velma's. And they had known each other for a while. They'd become very close, like Velma's closest friend. Very much her confidant, and had on several occasions she had introduced Velma to her husband, Jennings. And like they were just like best friends. Like she told her everything. Now, just a few months after Thomas's death, Velma was dealt another blow when she received news that Pauline had died unexpectedly from a cerebral hemorrhage.
Holy shit.
It was a shock. A shock.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it was even more of a shock because one of the things that they always talked about was that Pauline's husband, Jennings, had been disabled by emphysema and diabetes. And they honestly thought he was the one that would most likely pass away first. So this was like a real shock. And it was probably equally surprising when Velma found herself in a full-blown relationship with Jennings.
So I was going to ask that because the Barfield of it all.
Yeah.
What? That happens though.
Yeah.
Like I've heard of that more off, like a lot. Like I've heard of that a lot.
I don't understand it.
I think it's some weird grief tie.
Yeah, I would haunt the shit out of any of my friends.
Retweet. I would poltergeist that shit
all
the way up.
Your fucking life.
Oh, mark my words.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean
that's
Drew,
it's just black and white for me. I'll ruin your fucking
even
life.
if it's not my best friend, you can't move on. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll become a demon.
Sorry.
I'll become a demon specifically so I can ruin your life.
Yeah, exactly.
So just know that.
But isn't that strange?
It is. It's a strange phenomenon
I
that
told
happens.
a story like that recently.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't put my finger on exactly who it was, but I have heard of that like multiple times.
Didn't it happen with Stevie Nicks?
Yes, it did.
Didn't she? It's
but
like
then
a
she
weird,
had like
strange...
a come to Jesus moment, my girly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just but that shows like it's a strange phenomenon.
It is. It really is, and I think a lot
some
of it
kind
is
of
tied
psychological.
Up in grief.
100% it has to do with because grief will fuck you up.
Yeah,
like grief changes a lot of things.
Well, and if you think about it, like you have a lot in common with your best friend, so I'm sure there are attributes that bring your partner. That like remind the partner who's still alive of the partner that passed, and that brings you even closer.
I mean, like I don't understand it, but I'm not gonna say that I could understand it because thankfully, knock knocks, I've never been in that position to understand that.
And again, we'd haunt them. So.
Yeah, and I'll turn into a demon. Remember?
Yeah,
I won't even be human anymore.
No, poltergeist,
demon Elena. So, but yeah. But,
Damn.
So
And he's not in good health, though. So I'm like, Velma, you're kind of setting yourself up for some more heartbreak here.
Yeah, I don't think this is a great move. And it, spoiler alert, it's not. And honestly, this was just a couple of months after Pauline's death. They began a relationship.
And that's usually what you hear, like a couple
Yeah, it's always like
months.
right then. And it's like, I
Yeah.
don't get it, man. But like, do you. But she found herself, liking the attention. It gave her something else to focus on besides, like we were just saying, the constant death in her life and the addiction that surrounded everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she later wrote, "The kids, they didn't need me the way they had when they were young. I was grateful that he wanted to take me out. It made me feel good."
Oh,
That's sad.
that is, yeah, of course.
That's sad.
Absolutely.
But after dating only a few months, Jennings surprised Velma again when one evening at dinner, he asked her to marry him. This was only
Shit.
after dating a few months. And after his wife has just died.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a
I
good
think that's
idea.
very impulsive.
I think it's very
I
impulsive.
think any therapist would be like, I think we should talk
You should
this
probably
through
take a
a
minute.
little longer.
Well, and she said, "I agreed to marry Jennings Barfield, even though I wasn't in love with him." Which it's like, stop marrying
You
people you're not
already
in love with,
did
my friend.
that,
Like,
right.
you gotta stop doing that.
You only marry people you really, really, really love.
But what she said was, "I knew that Jennings didn't drink and that he wouldn't treat me bad. I just wanted someone to be with me and to talk with me. I wanted someone so badly to fill the emptiness in my life."
Wow, that's gut-wrenching.
So fucking sad. Because that's all anybody wants.
But
Is
you don't have to
somebody to
settle
talk
for
to
that.
you and comfort you and accept you and just like be a nice person.
But like, add
But it's like,
love
you don't
into
have
it,
to settle, man.
and it's so much more magical.
There's a lot
add
going
love.
on with Velma. It's a sad story.
It is.
But my God, does she turn callous and
I'm
scary.
waiting for it.
Yeah. On August 23rd, 1970, a little over a year after the death of Thomas Burke, Velma married Jennings Barfield, but very little changed.
Oh,
She
no.
said, I was as unhappy married as I had been alone." Of course you are. You don't love him.
Right.
And she found also that Jennings' health problems were quite a bit more complicated than Velma had realized and required a high level of care and attention.
Diabetes alone is a
Yeah.
lot to manage. Diabetes mixed with
And
emphysema.
and she was ill-equipped to provide these things.
Mhm.
And as a result of the increased stress, she began relying more on Valium to get through the day.
Valium.
And it didn't take long for Velma to realize Jennings' health problems, well, certainly not his fault, were at least partially worsened by his refusal to follow any doctor's orders to make any kind of life improvements.
Oh no.
He had bad emphysema, but he wouldn't quit smoking.
Uh-huh.
The same was true of his diabetes. He wouldn't change his diet or exercise. And the only things worse for Velma was, he said, the more obstinate he became, the more medicine I took, the more exasperated I grew, the more desperate.
Woof.
And these are the things, though, where it's like, Velma, you're just blaming everyone else. You took the action here. You
Yeah.
married this man you don't love.
Right.
You knew he had health problems.
Right.
And now you're blaming his health problems on your stuff. Like, you're blaming your stuff on his health problems.
Right.
When you knew what you were entering into.
Right.
You knew it. Pauline told you. You were
Yeah.
best friends. You were confidants. She told you what he needed.
Yeah.
So it's like you went into this knowing he was going to have a lot of things that he needed.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably knew that he was pretty stubborn and he wasn't going to change shit, because I'm sure Pauline told you that shit. Your
Yeah.
best friends, that's what you tell your best friend.
100%.
And it's like, and you married him knowing you didn't love him.
Well, and I think that's the root
You've
of
been
the
down
whole
this
issue.
road before.
Because if you loved him, these things wouldn't be as
If you loved
big of a
him,
deal.
you could, sink
You'd
your
see
heels
past it
in and
all.
you'd be like, let's go.
Right.
But
Like,
you
well,
didn't
I'll
love
do
him.
anything.
So this didn't hit the same. And it's like, but you're not recognizing that you're doing this shit to yourself.
I can't imagine walking down the aisle to a man that I didn't love.
Oh no.
Like, to know, because you hear that. People are like, oh, like on my wedding day.
Like, I knew it.
Right before I
And
walked
it's
down
like,
the aisle,
what
I was
the
like, am I
fuck were
doing the
you
right thing?
doing?
And it's like,
Like,
why did you,
damn.
like,
Yeah, like,
why
what
did
the
you go
fuck?
through all of that?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Now, Velma had been married to Jennings for less than a year, and she already felt more trapped than she ever had before. And to make matters worse, Robbie had graduated from high school that spring and began working at the cola company where his father was once employed.
Oh.
But in the fall, he was going off to the University of South Carolina, which, like, good for these kids for, like, getting into college
Hell
and shit.
yeah.
Like, good on you for
With
all the shit that was going
everything.
on in your lives. Good job.
That's huge.
But Velma was going to lose one of the few constant sources of happiness and support that she had left in her life.
Oh.
Now,
This is horrible.
yeah. So, and so she was already worried about Ronnie graduating, going to college. But then he was drafted into the army a few months later with plans to be sent to Vietnam during one of the biggest troop surges.
Oh my God.
Now, by the winter of 1971, life had become
unbearable?
Yeah, just suffocating for Velma, who was honestly in this awful cycle of depression, addiction, hopelessness.
Yeah.
And also self-sabotage that she was just constantly cycling through. She was full of regret. She was now very resentful of Jennings.
That's not fair.
She felt that he trapped her in the marriage that she didn't really want.
Girly Pop, you said yes.
Yeah. And then those feelings turned darker.
Oh no, not Jennings.
Now, all the death, abuse, depression, addiction, disappointment she had cycled through, she found herself wishing Jennings was dead.
She's gonna kill her best friend's husband after she married him months after she died.
Yeah. She was really wanting to be free of what she considered to be a burden.
There's this thing. It's called divorce.
Yeah, you know of it. You just go for it, girl.
I know it can be messy, but you know what is messier?
But
murder.
And everything's messy at this point. Let's go.
Seriously.
Now, in late March of 1971, fueled by anger and, whatever else she was dealing with,
Valium.
Velma bought a bottle of arsenic poison.
Where do you buy arsenic?
I always wonder that. I'm like, where did you it's just like a bottle with a skull and crossbones on it at the grocery store, and you're like,
right.
oh, gonna grab this. And she wrote, "Part of me cried that it was the only way. It's not.
No.
Another part of me begged to stop."
Who?
And she had said she wanted to make him sick as punishment for what he'd put her through.
He already is sick, girlfriend. Like super sick.
And she said, then he'll be sorry he's caused me so much trouble and he won't do it again. He'll start acting right and he won't bother me anymore. So do you see the little switch?
That's sadistic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's like up until this point, you're like, fuck, Velma, like what a sad life. And like, damn, I'm feeling bad for you. And then at this point, you're like, oh,
like,
look at that.
Damn, shorty.
Look at that. I don't feel bad at all anymore.
No, I don't. And this man who has had chronic health problems.
And he just lost his wife.
And lost his wife, your best friend.
Yeah.
That is beyond.
Now, what's worse is, and maybe she didn't know this, or maybe she didn't care. Maybe she knew and she didn't care.
Oh, what?
But Jennings had come to the same conclusion.
He was going to kill her.
He wasn't going to kill her.
Oh my God. I was like, what?
That their marriage had been an impulsive mistake.
Yeah.
And that it had been done out of grief.
Right.
Like he came to that. He was like, you know what?
What do we do here?
And in fact, just days before his death, Jennings had contacted his lawyer to discuss a divorce.
What the fuck?
He was a devout Christian and he cared very much about how he was perceived by others. And he had become embarrassed by Velma's, what her addiction was doing to her erratic behavior. It had certainly become subject of gossip around town at this point. And he was like, and she doesn't want to take care of me. She doesn't really love me. Like, I can see this. And like, why am I
probably bickering?
And he's basically sitting there going, why am I making her take care of me when she doesn't love me?
Yeah, she's not happy. I'm not happy.
Like,
what are we
let's
doing?
move on.
So he went about this the rational
smart
way.
Because he was like, you know what? Let's separate and we'll move on with our lives. Like, it'll be fine. We did this impulsive thing. Oops. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's great.
Unfortunately for Jennings, his realization came too late because
This part of the show is brought to you by Anua, the Korean skincare brand known for scientific, gentle, yet effective formulations. The latest from Anua is the Retinol Collagen Gua Sha Cream, a firming cream with a gua sha-shaped tip built right in. Have you guys heard of gua sha? It's that viral massage tool that moves fluid and tension out of your face. Less puffiness, a snatched jawline, honey, more definition in your face. Retinol firms and reduces fine lines, and collagen keeps your skin plump and structured. This cream has both of those things, arguably the most optimal combo for that snatched, lifted look all in one step. I am obsessed with the Gua Sha cream. First of all, it feels so cool to the touch when you put that on your face. It's just like, oh, this is lovely. It's like a little spa treatment that you can give yourself. I like to do mine at night after I get out of the shower. I rub the cream on my face with the little gua sha. I'm sculpting that jawline, honey. I got it on the cheekbones. And actually, I had a facial the other day, and the lady doing my facial, the professional, she said, "Do you use a gua sha at home?" And I said, "I do." And I said, "How did you know that?" And she said, "I didn't have those little like bumps in my chin or like different areas like that." So she could tell that I was using the gua sha. And I said, "Oh my God." I just feel like I wake up less puffy in the morning when I do it the night before. But you can do it whenever you want to. I, 10 out of 10, recommend this product. The Anua Gua Sha Cream Value Set is available at anua.com, already discounted. Use code MORBID for an extra 10% off. That's ANUA.com, code MORBID. The Sherwin-Williams summer sale is here. Get 30% off select paints and stains or 35% off their newest product, Emerald Symmetry, July 17th through the 27th. Whether you're looking to refresh your interior or your exterior, they've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
Afternoon of March 21st, Velma put the poison in Jennings' food. She put a lot of poison in people's food. She didn't do the
Really?
slow arsenic poisoning that you hear about. The arsenic took effect almost immediately. It's unclear whether she felt, it's pretty clear to me, but it's unclear whether she felt guilty or was trying to, cover her tracks. But when it became apparent that Jennings couldn't breathe, she rushed him to Cape Fear Hospital. But doctors there weren't hopeful that he would make it through the night. And they were correct because Jennings Barfield died the following morning from heart failure.
But did they think it was because of the emphysema?
That's the thing. She picked people who this would not be shocking that they died.
And they wouldn't look into it.
And they wouldn't look into it.
autopsy or
And
anything.
arsenic poisoning is a very tough one to, unless you are getting an autopsy because you think something happened, then you're not
Right.
going to know. I mean, one of the things that I read about was you can smell garlic breath.
Yeah, I read that
That's an
before,
arsenic
too.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some other things, like we'll get into it, that so I don't know what kind of arsenic that Velma was utilizing here, but upon further research, there's trivalent arsenic is the worst kind.
I didn't
So I'd
realize that
assume-
there was even different kinds.
So trivalent arsenic has the added harshness of having a corrosive effect. So it will leave oral sores in someone's mouth as well, and it will cause GI bleeding and dysphagia, which is when somebody has trouble swallowing.
Yeah.
Trivalent, basically, like the reason it's called that, it has to do with the molecular structure of the arsenic molecule itself. Trivalent means there's 3 valence electrons. I'm going back to organic chemistry. Dominated me, but I actually liked organic chemistry.
That's a wild thought.
It means there's 3 valence electrons. Valence electrons are the electrons on the outermost shell of an atom. These electrons take part in a chemical reaction that will follow. They can form a chemical bond with another atom to make this happen.
Okay.
Trivalent atoms can form 3 covalent bonds, which is just sharing electrons between atoms to form electron pairs.
Sure.
They do this so they can be more stable.
Okay.
So the reaction becomes more stable, it does more damage. Now, arsenic poisoning, especially in such a large and focused dosage like Velma was using on her victims,
Right.
is fucking violent. This is not, it's an awful death. This isn't, oh no, I don't feel well, and then you pass out. It's hours, sometimes days of excruciating pain and agony.
Oh, man.
It is awful. You will be vomiting, extreme stomach pain to the point of like just not even being able to breathe. You will be vomiting uncontrollably, diarrhea. You will have,
Oh, my God.
it's just agony. So she's causing and watching these people in the worst pain you can possibly imagine. It's fucking awful. Because it causes like GI bleeding and shit.
Right.
Like, so it makes you really fucked up.
Did she ever say why she picked that? Like why she wanted to poison?
No.
'Cause I know like women are more likely to poison by statistics. But
I think some of it is probably because she wouldn't be caught.
Yeah.
She picked people who they weren't going to probably ask for an autopsy because it'll eventually cause cardiac arrest because your body goes into shock.
Right.
because there's so much happening to your body. It's that bad that your body literally goes into shock and you have a heart attack and die.
Right.
Like, that's how they all died. Like, bodies went through fucking horror in front of her.
To like take a deep breath.
And then their bodies all went into such shock that they all had a heart attack and died. And then most of them are older, as we'll see, so they don't question it.
And did she do that with everybody? Give them like a huge amount?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh yeah, she like at one point she said she watched it and she felt nothing.
Wow.
Like she watched them go through the after effects and felt nothing.
Wow.
So she's a real monster. She's a real monster.
Is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, keep going.
Now, despite having caused Jennings Barfield's death, Velma was depressed still because, you know, she's alone now again.
Do you think any part of her felt guilty?
No, I think to me, I don't think she feels guilty. I think she just realizes that she puts herself back into square one.
Okay.
And then she's depressed again. Now, as she'd done so many times before, she turned more to her addictions to dull these difficult emotions and she had this thing she would do where she would try to soothe her guilt by telling herself, well, he was in poor health anyways. So
she just speeded it along.
And that was and she would tell herself that a lot. Like, oh, that person was going to die anyway. So who cares if they went out in excruciating pain, shitting and throwing up all over themselves? Like, that's what was going to happen anyways, right?
Wow.
It's like, no, I don't think that was going to happen, but thank you. Following her second husband's death, she once again found herself, shockingly, in financial difficulties because she didn't plan for that. So she rented out the house she had been living in with Jennings, and she and Kim moved back into the home she and the kids lived in when she was still with Thomas, the one with the fire. It had been twice damaged by fire, but she later said, I couldn't stand being back in that house. I redecorated and bought new furniture. I tried, but I just couldn't feel good in it. Being in that house that Thomas had built made me think I was drowning and didn't know how to swim.
Wow.
Now, things only got worse as 1971 came to a close because Ronnie had tried repeatedly and unsuccessfully to get a deferment for his enlistment. And Kim's impending graduation meant that one more of her constant companions was going to be taken away. And the stress of everything collapsing around her caused Velma to lean much harder into her addictions. And by the end of the year, she experienced another drug overdose.
Oh, another one?
Yep, she had already had a couple.
Oh.
I don't know when they were, so I didn't want to name them because they happened at different periods. But this one she claimed she later recognized as a half-hearted attempt to end her own life.
Wow.
Eventually the drugs and depression began affecting her performance at work, and she was showing up late constantly and just not showing up at all. And after 7 years as one of the more reliable employees at Belk's department store, her boss had to fire her in December of 1971.
Wow.
Now, completely depressed and unemployed, she entered 1972 living off what little insurance money she got from Jennings' death. And running out of money, Velma moved in with her parents in early 1972, and this was just as her father Murphy's health had begun to decline due to respiratory problems.
Oh, man.
Later, it was diagnosed as lung cancer.
Mm.
Now, by the time it was diagnosed, his cancer was too advanced to treat. So he was checked into the hospital with no plans for a discharge. He was basically in hospice.
Really sad.
Now, during this time, Velma found work at a knitting plant in nearby Rayford just to help her mother with the bills. And she was able to maintain that employment for a little over 2 months. And then her father died in May, and it sent her hurtling back into her bad habits. And by January 1973, Velma had now overdosed twice in as many months and had begun stealing any pills she could find in her neighbors' houses and,
wow,
anybody's medicine cabinets. Like, she was really in a place where she needed a lot of help. And and it was basically to stave off withdrawal at this point.
Right.
Now, she couldn't function without it. And she also couldn't maintain employment because of it.
Isn't it crazy how, you can't function with it, and then it becomes such a big part of your life that you can't function without it?
Yeah. It becomes a never-ending, what feels like a never-ending cycle that you can't get off.
If you don't get the help.
Just an escalator that just keeps going round and round.
It's just so crazy how your body is meant to function, obviously, without drugs most of the time, but then you can become so dependent on them that you have to have them.
Yeah.
It's such scary. A weird thing to reconcile in your brain.
It's really scary. But she ended up kept living with her mom after her dad passed away, partially to help her mom, just to like be there for her, but also she didn't really have any other option.
Yeah.
Now, her father, I guess, ended up later in life kind of acting like a buffer between her and her mom. Her mom were fine. Like, her mom wasn't abusive or anything like that.
They just didn't get
But
along.
I think her and Lily just didn't get along that much. Like, they kind of butted heads.
Well, and she had resented her even from a child.
I think that's what it is. Because it sounds like Lily wasn't really doing anything, like, outwardly wrong or anything. I think she just, like, rubbed Velma the wrong way.
Right.
Velma doesn't seem to have a whole lot of patience, as we can see.
It's very like Emily Gilmore Lorelai. Like,
Yeah.
when you watch the series back,
A lot of the times you're like, she's really not doing anything. Like, there's times when you're like, fuck you, Emily. But
yeah,
like,
100%.
I think that's what Lily is. Where it's like, this time you're like, all right, Lily.
Yeah.
But there's most of the time you're like, I think you just don't.
I think you're being a
butt
petulant
heads.
child.
Yeah. Now, it got worse. So Velma said, Mama liked to sit and talk about the old days when we were kids. She was getting old, and maybe that's why she kept talking like that. That pissed her off.
She's not going to kill her mom, is she?
And for whatever reason, her mother's, nostalgia and what she saw as her complete disregard for the unpleasant memories of her childhood. She didn't want to talk about it. Like, she was like, you're only focusing on the nice things, which is like, she's old. So I think that's
Just let her have that.
She lost her husband. Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I can't. I was going to say I can't speak for it, so I'm not going to.
If you're an abused child
That's
and
the
somebody's
thing.
only focusing on the wonderful times, I'd be like, yeah, get your fucking face on a La La
yeah, I
Land.
was gonna say, like, I went to say, like, I don't know, just let her like hang out and like talk about the nice things if it makes her happy. Which, like, like, from my point of view, I look at it that way. Like, if it makes it, but I'm like, I'm not an abused child, so I can't understand the trauma that comes along with that and how angry you would be.
I would say try your best to let her,
but it's like
do that. But I can see where it's bigger than you.
Yeah, it's hard. You got sometimes like it's every once in a while I have to make sure I put myself in a different position.
Yeah,
instead of looking at it only from my happy position over here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have that ceaseless, unending trauma. Growing up, so it's like. And abuse and shit like that. So it's like, I can sit here and say that.
Because I can't imagine
but
sitting
I can't
with, like,
fathom.
I mean, my mom was a single mom, but I can't imagine if, like, my stepdad was still a part of my life and hearing him be like,
but the
all
good
these awesome times, I'd be like, you shut the fuck up,
you'd
Kyle.
be like, really, shut the fuck up, Kyle.
His name is not Kyle.
But it's like, but so I can understand that.
Yeah.
Like, I can see it. Because at first when I read it, I was like, girl. And it's also, I think, because Velma is a fucking serial killer that I'm like,
your first thing is to disagree with her, of course.
But there's times when you're like, all right, I guess.
No, I
like,
see this.
Traumatized child, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it pissed her off. She was not happy with it.
I could definitely see that.
And her anxieties were further inflamed by the fact that Kim, now graduated from high school and out of the house, was engaged to be married.
Oh, man. Oh, wow. The way that just came full circle. Shit.
Yeah, exactly. And she's out of money at this point. She can't pay for any kind of wedding. She can't help with any of that. And Velma went to the bank and took out a loan.
Okay.
And she used her mother's house as collateral.
Unbeknownst to Lily?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She told the bank that Lily was too ill to come and fill out the paperwork herself, and they just let her.
Shit.
Banks were wily back then.
That's the thing. You don't fucks with the bank, but sometimes you do fucks with the bank, and they're like, it's fine.
Sometimes the banks fuck with you.
Yeah.
But in early December 1974, notices began arriving from the bank addressed to Lily. And they were demanding payment on a loan that Velma had taken out on her behalf. Wow. So Lily is older now, and she's assuming, oh, well, like, the bank made a mistake. So she's just throwing them out, not even thinking about it. Like, just do. But Velma was seeing the notices.
Right.
And she's panicking. And she's sure her mom's going to find out, and then she's going to be caught.
And so she's not going to know what to do.
One day in mid-December, Velma had gone to the pharmacy to pick up her prescription and purchased another bottle of arsenic before leaving the store.
Kill her own mother.
She said, I don't remember thinking about what I would do next, but somewhere inside me, I must have already conceived of the plan. I had done it once, even though I had blotted that from my conscious memory. Later, Velma would claim that she had only planned, and this is her constant claim, every time she does this, she claims this. And I'm like, girl, we don't believe you.
What did she say?
Velma would claim that she'd only planned to make her mother sick for a while, just long enough to give her time to find a job and pay back the loan and stop the notices from coming.
No.
Whatever the plan had really been, it didn't happen that way. Velma poisoned her food, and not long after she ate it, Lily began uncontrollably vomiting, complained of agonizing stomach pains. And Velma's mother, Velma called her mother's doctor, but her doctor assumed that she had the flu, which was going around at the time. So he declined to see her and was like, oh, I'll just call her in a prescription. It's okay. Now, the medicine obviously didn't help her mother because she did not have the flu.
Right.
So she called her brother Olive, and they both arranged for an ambulance to bring Lily to the hospital. While Lily was in ICU, Velma kept repeating to everyone that the doctor told her there were a lot of people dealing with this kind of illness right now. So that's what it was. She just had to convince herself that what she had done to her mother was not what was causing this illness.
It was secondary.
Now, later that afternoon, her mother died of a heart attack because her body went into shock.
From arsenic.
Yep. And she later said that she kept repeating to herself, Mama died because of her heart trouble. It had nothing to do with the poison.
Did she even have heart trouble previously?
No. Now, since the death of Thomas Burke in 1969, Velma had descended deeper into this addiction that she was living in until her entire life was revolving around the pills she took just to get through the day.
Right.
And before she knew it, the addiction had become a trap in which she was willing to do anything to avoid the panic of being cut off from it. Following her mother's murder, Velma moved in with her daughter Kim and her new husband. But her drug abuse immediately caused problems. In an effort to help their mother, Kim and Ronnie would regularly round up all the pills and flush them down the toilet.
Oof.
But Velma always found a way to get more. And one day, while she was cleaning out some things at her mother's house, she found a checkbook from an old account she had opened when Jennings was still alive. So she had no money. And so she remembered the checkbook and wrote a bad check to the pharmacy, knowing but really not caring that she was going to be caught.
Because she was using it to get pills.
Yeah, and it was a bad check.
Right.
So just days after writing the check, 2 sheriff's deputies showed up at her door to discuss the bad check. At first, they went easy on her and were like, listen, if you just repay the money, we're not going to cause you any trouble.
Right.
But she didn't have the money to pay. And so Velma made another half-hearted attempt to take her own life by overdosing on pills again. But she woke up in the hospital later that day. Her collarbone actually broke from the fall that she took when she passed out.
Oh, wow.
And it was while she was in the hospital that the 2 sheriff's deputies returned. This time, they had a warrant for her arrest. She had no options to pay back the money. So she had to plead guilty and was sentenced to 6 months at North Carolina's Correctional Center for Women in Raleigh. And while the time in jail seems like it would have been a great opportunity for Velma to get sober.
There's more in jail than there is on the streets.
You'd think, but instead she spent most of her time just looking for thinking about what she was going to do when she came out. And after receiving an early release for good behavior after serving 4 months of the sentence, she stole a check from her son-in-law's checkbook the minute she got home and went straight to the pharmacy and filled a prescription.
Wow.
Not long after, Kim learned she was pregnant. And with a baby on the way, she was like, there's not enough room in this house for all of us.
And I can't have a baby around all this dysfunction.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what was going through her head.
Exactly. She was like, no.
Oh, I feel so bad for Kim.
I know.
To
That's
have
the
to
thing.
like for lack of a better term, kick your mother
Yeah,
out.
to have to be like, we can't. I need to focus on my family.
Oh, that's really sad.
It happens to Ronnie, too.
Oh, God.
So she found a new arrangement with an elderly neighbor, and she was going to live with her.
Oh, fuck.
And she was going to provide limited in-home care in exchange for room and board.
Girlie, you can't even care for yourself, and you're going to care for this
Yeah.
elderly person?
Now, at first, this seemed like an ideal job to her, but then it became clear to her that the woman's needs were far greater than what she could meet. And after 4 months, she was moved. This elderly woman, thankfully for her, was moved to a long-term care facility, which put Velma out of a job and out of a home.
Right.
But unfortunately, but fortunately for her, there is no shortage of elderly people in need of care. So she found herself in a new live-in care position with an elderly couple named Montgomery and Dolly Edwards.
Shut your face right now.
I know, the cutest names.
Montgomery and Dolly.
Yeah.
I love them forever.
They were made to find each other.
Yeah, they were.
Now, in
Monty.
November 1975, Dolly Edwards had decided she wanted to bring her husband Montgomery home from the hospital.
Okay.
But they were older. She had neither the energy nor the strength to meet the demands of his care. It was the county nurse who had recommended Velma to Dolly.
girl, bye.
She had met her a few months earlier when Velma was hired to care for her elderly sister, that other person.
Okay.
After just one brief conversation, Dolly was like, sounds good to me. And she offered the position to Velma. And she would get room and board and also would get a salary of $75 a week. Now, like so many of the relationships in her life, it didn't take long before she was just fucking annoyed by these people. That's the thing with Velma. It's like, get the fuck over yourself.
Yeah, what is wrong with you?
Like, don't be around people if you don't like them.
But she has
don't
to, 'cause
take
she
care
has
of
to
people
use
if you
them.
don't like them. Like, Jesus Christ, these are older people. They're just like living their lives.
Yeah, but they have things that she wants.
And she came to resent them. And
how do you resent Montgomery and Dolly?
Exactly.
Fuck you, Velma.
She was very quick to become irritated and hated the way, which this annoys me, hated the way that Dolly always hovered around her when she was tending to Montgomery's needs and criticizing the way she did things.
Bitch, you better bet that I'm going to criticize the way you're taking care of my mans.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, you think Dolly is not going to give a fuck what you're doing to Montgomery over there?
He just got out of the hospital also. She wants
brought
to
his
ensure
ass home.
that he can stay home.
Yeah.
Fuck you,
Are you
Velma.
kidding me? I will fucking
hover.
micromanage what you do to my elderly husband. Like, fuck that
Absolutely.
shit. Like, that's mine. Like, that's love.
I heard that.
And that's the thing. I'm like, she doesn't understand that. She doesn't understand that kind of love, that kind of devotion, that kind of caring.
Because she never was with a
doesn't
man that she loved.
Get it. So she doesn't understand why Dolly has to sit there and see everything she's doing.
That's wild.
And then she claims that she says, at times I felt I saw flashbacks as if I'd gone back home again. She acted like my mother, always telling me what to do and never pleased with the way I did things. And it's like, well, no, that's
Grow up.
because that's her guy, you know? And, but then even Ronnie would later say that he overheard several arguments between his mother and Dolly that reminded him very much of the arguments she would have with Lily before she died.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I think this is Velma's problem.
Yeah.
Velma also greatly disliked the way Dolly talked about her nephew, Stewart Taylor. Velma had met Stewart a few times while she was working for the Edwards, and he always seemed like a perfectly nice guy to Velma.
Oh, I bet he's not.
Which I was like, Velma, you are not one to have, like, your taste is not killing it right now. I don't think
know what
you are
love
the
is.
end all be all of who's a good guy. But Dolly always made a point of speaking very ill of him, criticizing him for his drinking.
Uh-huh. But it's her fucking family. She
Yeah.
knows.
And also, like, I'm sorry, you've seen somebody who, like, prioritizes that over everything. Like,
Yup, how
you know,
that goes.
that doesn't work for you.
And I was going to say you didn't like it.
Now, that fall, Stewart asked Velma if she would like to have dinner with him, and she happily agreed.
Oh, man.
You're hearing what he's like, dude. Like, this is what I mean. I'm like, come on.
But it's like, it's one of those things where it's such a cycle for her because she
It
went
is.
after Thomas after her parents disapproved.
Yep.
Look what happened.
And now
this
Dolly's like, this
woman
guy's bad.
who's like her mom disapproves of this guy.
Exactly.
She's one of those people where you disapprove and it makes her go after it harder.
And she's living the same lives. So, like, moving in with Dolly in Montgomery, Dolly, she says, reminds her of her mother.
Yup.
And then she's, like, going against her.
Yep.
Now, Stewart and Velma went out a couple of times a week for about 6 weeks until he stopped coming by the house completely out of nowhere.
Oh, he ghosted her?
Yeah. When Velma mentioned it, Dolly said Stewart and his wife had reconciled
Oof.
and were hoping to get back together. Velma was disappointed, but was like, whatever.
Damn.
Moving on. Now, by January 1977, Montgomery had passed away at the end of the month. So
Under
now
normal
Velma...
circumstances?
Yes.
Okay.
So now Velma was left alone with Dolly in the house.
Aw.
Without Montgomery to care for, Dolly found new chores and responsibilities for Velma because she was like, you still want to be paid, you still want somewhere to live, which Velma interpreted as new excuses for Dolly to criticize her.
It's like, girlie, she's putting a fucking roof over your head
Yeah.
and money in your pocket.
And Velma said over the last few months, the pressure had built up so much that every time Mrs. Edwards started to complain, I wanted to scream at her. I began to hate Mrs. Edwards. I wanted to hurt her in some way.
Then leave.
That's not normal.
No, of course it's
That's not normal
Wanna
thought
hurt
patterns.
people?
Like, I want to hurt this elderly woman.
That's terrifying.
Just you
Just leave.
Bye. Like, you go get another job with another elderly couple who you can decide to hate.
Right.
Now, after a little more than a month alone with Dolly, she couldn't stand it any longer.
And poor Dolly is also probably depressed after
Montgomery
losing
just
her
died.
husband.
And on February 28th, what did Velma do? She poisoned the elderly woman in the same way that she had done the others.
Wow.
Dolly was in excruciating pain for about a day until she passed away the following morning, with Velma so out of it that she was oblivious. So Dolly, for a whole day, was in excruciating, torturous sickness and pain. While Velma just sat there
and used.
Just disassociated. This poor elderly woman
who
by
just
herself,
lost her husband,
just torturously, excruciatingly dying in her own house.
Oh,
it's just, that's a horrible thing to think about.
I just thought of this too. Those last couple months for Edward were probably awful too, because there was such dysfunction in the house.
Yeah, for Montgomery, you mean?
Excuse me, for Montgomery.
Yeah, it was
so
just
it's like
dysfunction,
the last
and
parts of their lives
were
Velma just
dysfunctional.
made awful.
Yeah, it seems to be what she does.
She sucks.
Now, under most circumstances, the amount of tragedy and death that seemed to follow Velma would have been suspicious. But remember, she's picking sick and elderly people. So their deaths are like they're shocking, but not shocking. You know what I mean? Like they're not unusual.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning of April, she sat wondering what she was going to do now. The Edwards were dead. So she received a call from a woman who was looking for someone to provide live-in care services for her parents. These people were John Henry and Record Lee. Mrs. Lee had recently broke her leg, and at 80 years old, her husband was unable to take care of her.
80 years old, you live your whole life, and then fucking Velma moves in with you.
Yep. She was going to get room and board. She would get a small salary. So she agreed to work with the Lees in late April. Now, just as before, Velma immediately found the job annoying. She found her employers intolerable.
It's like, get another fucking job then.
And she said they argued a lot, constantly bickering over things of no importance. I'm like, yeah, they're old.
Yeah, like that's
Isn't
what you
that
do.
What old people do?
100%.
And after a few months, Velma's undue resentment of the couple had gone right into what it normally does, a hatred.
That's wild.
That's the thing. I'm like, your hate and temper and anger is evil. Like, that's evil shit. So she spent her days just seething and dreaming about how she was like, I just wanted to walk out and abandon them. And it's like, then do that.
I was going to say, go for it.
But she figured if she quit her job, she would have no money. And so things changed in late summer when Velma needed to see a new doctor for her prescriptions. And this required a sum of money she just didn't have. So to cover the cost, she stole a check from John Henry's checkbook and wrote out the amount of $50, forging his name at the bottom.
What a piece of shit.
The doctor accepted the check without question, which I'm like, everybody else needs to check themselves here too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's wrong with all of you? And Velma was able to get the medicine, but just as in the case of the loan taken out on her mother's house, she immediately began to panic that John Henry was going to get his bank statement and discover what she had done.
Right.
She said, in a state of panic, I again bought poison. She said,
I don't think that she really was in a state of panic.
No, she liked doing this.
Yeah.
It's just she got the added bonus of getting some money out of it.
Exactly.
She said, telling myself that I only wanted to make him sick so that I could leave, get a different job, and replace the monies I had taken by forgery.
And that's not true.
She is full of shit.
Because that's it. You make him sick for a little bit. He's still going to go over his bank statements when he gets better, and you know that. You didn't want to make him sick. You wanted to kill him.
You've seen that the amount of arsenic you're putting in food is killing people.
It's not just making
you're
people
not changing
sick.
it up. Like, it's just, and also, that's also fucked up.
Like,
I
just
love that
wanting
she's
to make
like,
people
I just
sick.
wanted to make people have
Violently
GI
ill.
bleeds. I don't understand why that was a problem. And it's like, you fucking, like, that's wild.
Yeah. She's evil.
That she's literally saying, like, what? I just wanted to poison them a little. And it's like, they're 80 years old, you fucking asshole.
That's wild.
So a few days later, Velma served John Henry the poisoned food, and the arsenic immediately went to work.
Oh.
She said he went through the same kinds of pain that the others had gone through. Again, I watched in a detached way, feeling no connection between my actions and his pain.
Wow.
So she watched this poor old man in excruciating pain.
80 years old.
John Henry died on June 4th, 1977, with the medical examiner listing the cause of death as a heart attack.
That's horrible.
Now,
and to think that these people could have lived longer and like gotten more out of life than just Velma.
But she just takes it because she's annoyed. Now, just days after John Henry's death, Velma was shocked when she answered the Lees' front door to find Stewart Taylor.
What? He tracked her down?
Standing before her. Hadn't seen Stewart in over a year. And Velma didn't understand why she was seeing him now, but he quickly explained that he was in the process of divorcing his wife, and he wanted to check on Velma to see how she had been doing.
After you just fucking walked
Ghosted
out of
her.
her life.
Velma invited Stewart in, and they spent hours catching up. Following John Henry Lee's death, the Lee family convinced Velma to stay on to take care of Record. That's even sadder.
Right.
They convinced her to stay to take care of their, the wife,
Yeah.
because they had no idea. And Velma agreed, but it didn't take long before she started getting that feeling again.
Oh my God.
Suddenly she was feeling resentment, anger, irritability. And the only thing that made those months tolerable, she said, was that Stewart had been coming by for visits regularly. And before long, they'd become a proper relationship, picking up where they had left off, the year before. And Velma spent a few months in the Lee home after John Henry's death, but eventually that anger and, feelings came too much. So she found a job as a nurse's aide at a nearby nursing home where she worked third shift. And the salary was higher than anything she had made in recent years, so she was able to move into a trailer home by herself, which seemed to improve her mood a little bit.
Okay.
Now, after a while, Velma began to notice a pattern in Stewart's behavior that made her a little uneasy. He would come around for a few days in a row and then disappear for a week.
Binge drinking.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
And then he'd just show up again, like nothing had happened. And on one of these occasions, Velma had become concerned and called Stewart's stepmother, who told her not to worry, he's been on one of his drinking binges again.
Exactly.
By late summer, Velma and Stewart were spending nearly all their free time together, going on short trips, really going for it.
Okay.
For a time, it seems the rage and numbness was kind of keeping at bay. She was feeling a little happiness with Stewart, I guess, what she thought was
I
happiness.
was just going to say, does she know what that is?
I was going to say, which only increased in the fall of 1977 when Stewart asked Velma to marry him.
Oy.
Now, her kids, Ronnie and Kim, were very immediately concerned. They were like, I think you're rushing into marriage again, and I think you're rushing into marriage with another alcoholic again.
Like, why would you do this?
And I don't think this is great, and he could be potentially violent.
Yeah.
We've seen how this happens. So Velma assured them that Stewart was working on that. Okay. And besides, they couldn't get married until Stewart's divorce was finalized in May, so there was time to make everything work.
Oh my God. Can you imagine having to deal with this with your mother?
I literally can't.
That's horrible.
Now, years later, Velma would acknowledge that a marriage to Stewart would have been a bad idea. She said,
okay, so she doesn't do it.
She said, I never felt close to him at all. Which
yes,
is like,
you did.
Which is like, damn, you really are cold as ice. Because it's like, you pretended? Like, what the fuck? She
I
said,
don't believe that she didn't feel close to him.
I can't comprehend why I wanted to be with him. Sometimes we're just lonely. Somebody to talk to, I think that is who she is at her core.
Damn.
Is like this
I
callous,
don't
cold as ice
that.
person. Now, regardless of how she claimed to feel about him later, at the time, Velma seemed to go out of her way to get Stewart's attention.
That's the thing. And she went out of her way to get her previous husband's attention.
And this one's even wilder because she went to extremes to get his attention here. In one incident in November, police were called to her trailer when a friend stopped by to check on her and found Velma duct taped by her hands and feet with another piece across her mouth. She claimed she had entered the bathroom that morning about to take a shower when a man entered her trailer, threw a towel over her head, and forced her back into the bedroom where he secured her to the bed. She claimed she never saw her assailant and certainly couldn't identify him by voice alone. Of course not. And she had been taped to the bed, but she hadn't been assaulted by anybody in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing missing from the house. In fact, nobody had even gone through the house. Nobody had clearly opened anything to look for valuables, nothing.
What the fuck?
And although they didn't say it at the time, the officers at the scene were like, I think she did this to herself.
How do you tape yourself to
And
a
they
bed?
said they think she did it to get sympathy from Stewart. And it worked. When Stewart arrived at her house a short time later, the officers, quote, noticed how solicitous and reassuring he was being. And he demanded Velma wasn't going to stay another night alone and insisted she move in with him immediately.
I've got to go. I've got to go.
Yeah. Now, if Velma had
What?
thought that moving in with Stewart would be like a positive step in their relationship, she was probably disappointed because it made it harder.
Yeah.
So Stewart became very suspicious of Velma because she's a suspicious motherfucker.
Well, she has an
So
addiction as well. Like,
Stewart began going through her things while she was out and found several letters from people she'd met in prison.
what?
Velma had never mentioned to her fiance that she had gone to prison.
Oh my God.
So that was a big revelation to him.
Oh,
Which is something you should probably tell
God.
someone.
Yeah,
And
just
from
close that.
there, the relationship just began to deteriorate. Velma and Stewart spent more time fighting than anything else. They just could not get along. So no longer happy with that life, Velma fell right back into her old habits, started forging checks stolen from Stewart's checkbook. So was stealing checks from him.
You're with a con woman, baby.
And he received his bank statement in December, noticed the forged checks used to pay the pharmacy, and confronted Velma. And he was like, listen, if you don't return the money, like, I'm going to have you arrested.
Yeah.
Like, this is fucked up. And with their relationship effectively over, Velma ended up going to her son Ronnie's house, hoping she could move in with him. But Ronnie was like, you can't. Like, I'm living with my wife. And he was like, he had an infant child at that point, and he was like, the way you are is not conducive to me having a happy family life with my little family. Like, I need to take care of my child and my wife.
So hate that both of her kids were put in that position.
But also,
good for them.
good for you guys.
For putting your family
like those
first.
boundaries and those putting your own little families first is sometimes necessary.
Yeah.
And you did the right thing.
Absolutely.
So, like,
Absolutely.
Well done.
And
but I'm
especially-
sorry you had to go through that.
That's
'cause
the thing.
I can't imagine how distressing that is.
Because no matter what, like, it's your
your mom.
family, it's your mom, and
Yeah.
then you have to choose, like, another part of your family over her.
Yeah.
Like, and she should have never put them in that position.
But like really good for them for recognizing that like that would be starting a cycle
Yeah.
that could really turn out bad.
And especially to realize that, like, in that time period, too, where, again,
Yeah.
talk therapy wasn't, like, the biggest thing.
Yeah,
And-
so that's like good for them.
yeah.
But this, this rejection was a
It was
big one,
big.
especially her son. Which her son, that just seems to be a different thing for her.
Yeah.
And it was she went from uncontrolled sobbing to a kind of rage that Ronnie said he had never seen in his mother.
And he also was like, hey, this
He's
is
like, "This is
exactly why
why."
you can't live here.
He said it was a mean look, real angry, unlike any I've ever seen before.
wow.
And I even literally wrote in my notes, "You did the right thing, Ronnie."
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I was like, I need you to know you did the right thing.
I would be like, you're proving me right
yeah,
right
I can't
now.
have you near my infant child and my wife doing this. Like
No.
you were being the dad. You were taking care of your family. Good for you.
Yeah, and Kim did
And
the
good
same
for
thing.
Kim being the mom and taking care of her shit.
Hell yeah.
Now, by January 1978, Velma had quit her job and was hospitalized again for a brief period of time. Without money to pay for anything, she again stole checks from Stewart, which triggered that panic that he was going to report her, and that familiar panic set in. She was only going to make him sick, she told herself.
Doubt it.
Just long enough for her to replace the money so he wouldn't find out about the checks. Of course, Velma did not just make Stewart sick. She poisoned him with arsenic, just as she had the others. Stewart spent the evening of February 3rd in absolute agony. And eventually, Velma took him to the hospital, but by then it was too late. Within a few hours, he was pronounced dead.
So she killed 3 people within the same family.
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Like a couple months apart.
Yeah.
Wow.
And all for the same reasons.
There's no
Same trivial. You annoyed me and I stole your money and I was scared you were going to report me.
She's fucked. What is she up to? Like, how many people has she killed at this point? She killed her her second husband, then her mother, then one elderly
Dolly.
person? Dolly, and Dolly's husband.
Not Montgomery. She didn't kill Montgomery.
Oh, right. So she killed Dolly.
She killed John Henry.
Oh my God.
And she's killed Stewart.
Holy shit.
Now, until Stewart's death, Velma's victims, like we said, had all been kind of sick or elderly. Precisely the type of people you would kind of expect to die from an illness or an accident or some
or
kind
heart
of,
attack.
Stewart was only 56 years old at the time of his death.
I was just
and he
gonna
was in
ask.
relatively good health.
That's fucking wild.
Now, under the circumstances, like under the, I guess like relatively good health, all things considered about his lifestyle.
Okay.
He wasn't on the pay. Like, nobody expected him to just drop dead.
Yeah.
Now, under the circumstances, the family was stunned and confused by his death. And so they were like, yeah, we want an autopsy.
Right.
And they were eager for a pathologist to perform one. In fact, they even included Velma in their decision to have the autopsy performed, which she agreed was a good idea.
What?
She said, I didn't expect them to find anything. Besides, my mind was already convincing me that I had not killed Stewart.
Girl,
And
you
here's the
dumped
thing.
a plate full of fucking arsenic.
But she's probably thinking, especially at this time period, how are they going to find it? He was vomiting and the diarrhea and
So she
like all
thinks it
that.
came
It's
out of his
probably out of his
system?
system. Like, they're not going to find that shit. And it's not like we're as advanced as we are now. So it's like even now it can be tough to find. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
So she's probably thinking like, what the fuck are they going to find? They're not going to find arsenic.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if they wouldn't have. Well, I don't know what happens. I'm assuming they do. And I don't know if they wouldn't have if she hadn't put so much.
I know.
I'm interested to find
She
that out.
really goes. Now, despite pressure from Stewart's family, the pathologist could only work as fast as his partners in the lab could turn around test results. So the results of the autopsy were delayed by several weeks because they were trying to go through all the strange abnormalities they were discovering during the initial exam. In fact, it wasn't until the pathologist was describing the results to the state's chief medical examiner, Paige Hudson, that things started moving again. While the technicians and pathologists had recognized suspicious elements of the autopsy, it was Hudson who immediately recognized Stewart Taylor's death as acute arsenic poisoning.
Damn.
Hudson's
Acute question
presumption,
mark.
would take a little more time and a few more tests to confirm. Sorry, I was moving. That's why I was like, but in the meantime, he had called the police and the district attorney to let them know that they very likely had a murder on their hands.
Ooh.
Now, following Stewart's murder, Velma fell right back into that cycle of working the overnight shift, then returning home to get lost and just disassociation. And she did get the occasional visitor, but she was very surprised when the doorbell rang on March 10th, and she opened it to find a man she'd never seen before standing on her doorstep. The man introduced himself as Benson Phillips, a detective with the Lumberton Police Department.
Oh, bitch.
And he asked Velma to come down to the station with him to talk about a few suspicious deaths,
In her
including
wake.
that of her latest fiancé, Stewart Taylor.
Oh, shit.
Now, in the short amount of time since the abnormalities were discovered in Stewart's autopsy, investigators had traced a path backwards from Velma and found that Stewart was just the latest in a surprising number of weird deaths that seemed to involve the 45-year-old nurse's age. She's only 45. The deaths included the recently deceased Stewart Taylor, Velma's mother Lily, and her former employers. They did include Montgomery and
bet.
Dolly and John Henry Lee, all having shown signs of gastroenteritis.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, in the interrogation room, Velma acted stunned when the detectives connected the dots between her and the other suspicious deaths. She said, "Y'all think I poisoned Stewart, don't you?" And she started crying and was like,
Putting on a show.
And the investigators were like, "Oh, great, she's going to confess right here and there. We got her." But she called their bluff and just maintained her innocence throughout the entire conversation. But fortunately, a few days later, the final results from the autopsy came back and confirmed that Stewart had died from arsenic poisoning.
Damn.
Detective Phillips took the news to Stewart's family and informed them that they suspected Velma of having killed their father.
Her children thought that she killed their dad.
No, so I should have sauld that a better way. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Stewart had children.
Oh, okay, I see.
With his ex-wife.
Previous wife,
Yeah, I should have stated that a little better because that would have been confusing.
No, that makes sense now.
And this prompted Stewart's daughter, Alice, to provide the investigators with all the information on the forged checks and Velma's other suspicious behavior in the weeks leading up to Stewart's murder.
That's the thing. It's like you created, like you were saying earlier, a paper trail.
And on the evening of March 13th, 1978, Detective Benson returned to Velma's house, this time for a warrant for her arrest for the murder of Stewart Taylor.
Yeah.
And although investigators were tight-lipped about the other deaths Velma was suspected of having caused, Lumberton, North Carolina is a small town, and it wasn't hard for the press and locals to put the pieces together. Now, confronted with the evidence against her and the threat of revealing tests being conducted on the exhumed bodies now of her mother and Dolly Aunt Montgomery Edwards,
Oh, wow.
Velma confessed that she had indeed murdered Stewart by poisoning. On March 26, District Attorney Joe Britt presented his case against Velma to the Robeson County grand jury, who indicted Velma Barfield on one count of first-degree murder. But Velma was absent from the courtroom at the time because she was admitted to Dorothea Dix Hospital for a few days for a psychological examination. A month later, Dr. Bob Rollins, a psychiatrist from the hospital, completed and submitted the results of his examination of Velma, in which she determined that she was competent to stand trial. A month later, on May 5th, Velma was arraigned for the murder in a Robeson County courtroom where she pled not guilty by reason of insanity. As the pieces of the puzzle began coming together in the press, the residents of Lumberton grew increasingly shocked by the number of Velma's victims and the manner in which they were killed. Because like we said, sometimes you hear poisoning and you think, I think your brain sometimes just goes to like, oh no, I don't feel well. And then somebody passes out and dies. And it's like, oh no, this is fucking gruesome. It is an awful, awful, awful way to die. She was a real monster. It's right up there with like stabbing and like doing awful like hand to hand shit. Like it's
and
bad.
She just sat there and watched
watched it happen. That's even worse.
Yeah.
One resident told the Charlotte News, "You just don't expect to have a mass murderer in your town." Which, I mean, valid.
Yeah, accurate. Yeah. I don't.
A friend of Stewart's named Yates Allen agreed and told reporters he was very angry at Velma. He said, "For causing a friend of mine to go through what he went through. Certainly he suffered the tortures of the damned." Which I was like, wow.
Shit. You're
but
right.
Most people simply couldn't wrap their heads around the idea of what they knew as like a pretty kind, helpful woman.
Yeah.
Because again, like she had gotten recommended to work with these elderly people.
Right.
She was, by all accounts, a loving mom, even though like they had a tough childhood, obviously.
Right.
I don't think she outwardly was showing a lot of things that would lead anyone to believe she could do this. They just couldn't believe she had done it. And Allen again said, Stewart, in all his life, he wouldn't go to church. This one got him going 2 or 3 times a week.
Wow. She was going to church?
That's the thing. I was like, I don't know if that's the flex that you think it is. Because it's like this serial killer got him going 2 or 3 times a week. Like, I don't know what that says about anything.
Need a boost? Sometimes all it takes is tapping into your inner cool. Icebreaker's gum helps you unleash the confidence within. Each chew releases a rush of icy flavor powered by cooling flavor crystals, sending a wave of refreshment to reinvigorate all your senses. Icebreaker's convenient pack fits everywhere, from car cup holders to backpack pockets, so you can find your cool wherever you go. Grab Icebreaker's gum online or at a store near you.
Getting scared is one thing. Getting a thrill is, well, you want more of those in your life. The Genesis GV70 is built to thrill, baby. A thrilling yet elegant design always makes driving the GV70 an exciting adventure. Its powerful athletic stance screams performance and turns heads. Everybody's looking at you, girl, or boy, or whoever. Command the road and experience a class-leading standard 300 horsepower. Oh my God. Plus, discover the different dynamic drive modes for all different terrains. Choose between the different terrain modes for whatever road conditions you may encounter. The Genesis GV70's award-winning technology and performance lets you drive with comfort and drive with confidence all at the same time. It's an exciting SUV with intuitive tech that can make your ride smooth even when the road isn't. And its blind spot cameras allow you to see what's next to you. It's like having eyes on the side of your head. That's pretty iconic. Its performance, by the way, is measured not only in power, but in how it makes you feel confident, sexy. The Genesis GV70. Learn more at genesis.com and feel the GV70.
But I feel like maybe we could just leave that to the birds, you know?
I think he was like, damn.
Because I'm like, I don't know what that, this bitch was going to church 2 or 3 times a week. I don't know. I don't have a lot of words for it. But I'm like, damn.
Damn indeed.
They were sitting in pews with a serial killer.
That's wild.
And she's sitting there like talking up a big game.
Yeah.
I mean, according to her, and you'll hear she gets saved later in prison.
Oh, God.
And it's like, I don't believe that. Like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I think that's such bullshit.
You sat and watched people in the most agonizing pain.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Vomiting up everything in their body to the point where they were probably vomiting up like actual body fluids that they
like
need to
bile.
survive. Crying, sobbing, begging for help, shitting themselves, grasping their stomachs in agony and excruciating pain. 80-year-old women, your own fucking mother. And you're sitting in a pew and telling me, well, it's fine.
Yeah, that's like
No, I'm sorry. I don't buy that.
and you took people's loved ones away in like the last years of their lives when they could have had them longer.
You can't do what you've done and then tell me that everything's fine now.
You killed
It's like,
your mom.
no, it's not.
And like to kill Lily too, who when you were a child would blame like silly things that happened on herself and
Just to try to take it
abuse
away.
for
Yeah.
you.
It's just, that doesn't make sense to me, which I'm like, okay, girl, like think what you want to think, but like there's no way that you're getting out of this.
Well, and I just don't understand the like you're supposed to live by a certain code and
And
then
you
you
didn't.
don't and
you
then
live
it's
the
okay.
furthest away from it.
But I don't get that. I just don't understand.
No, I don't understand it either. This doesn't make any sense to me, but like, go off. But while the locals struggled with the idea of one of their own having done any of this, the prosecutor's office and Velma's defense team began building their cases. For District Attorney Joe Britt, it was a pretty simple case.
Slam dunk.
Velma Barfield was a confessed murderer of at least one, but possibly as many as 6, who killed for reasons so trivial as
They annoyed
the
her.
victim annoyed her,
Yeah.
literally. In fact, Britt was so convinced the jury would only see Velma as guilty, he skipped his opening remarks altogether and went right into calling his first witness. He was like, I don't
I'm not
even
gonna
need
waste
to do
my
this.
breath.
From one witness to the next, Joe Britt laid out a narrative where Velma had stolen from her boyfriend in order to get her pills and then killed him in order to prevent him from discovering the theft.
Yeah.
It was pretty black and white.
Yeah.
As evidence of her misdeeds, Britt produced the 4 checks Velma had stolen from Stewart, and the defense immediately objected, pointing out that in order for the checks to be relevant, Britt needed to prove that Stewart didn't authorize her to sign on his behalf, which they were like, you can't do that. You can't prove that.
He's not here.
And he said, I do not intend to introduce them to I merely wanted them marked for identification. And this actually turned out to be Joe Britt's most successful strategy in the courtroom because he skirted dangerously close to prejudicing the jury.
Oh, okay.
Just a little bit. But it kind of worked.
Okay. I mean, in this case, you're like, gotta do what you gotta do.
Now, Britt relied on this same tactic a few days later when he called John Henry and Record Lee's daughter, Margie Pittman, to the stand.
Because she killed Record as well, right?
She did not.
No?
I don't believe so.
I think she did. I think she killed Record after she killed John because that was the one where they convinced her to stay, right?
Yeah, she stayed, but then I think she ended up moving on to that nursing job and moving into the trailer before she could do anything.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It gets confusing. There's a lot of people. Now, her name is Margie Pittman. They brought her to the stand, and drew immediate objections from the defense, who argued that Britt was attempting to use evidence from an unrelated crime, because they're talking about Stewart's murder, to prove intent to the murder of Stewart Taylor. And defense attorney Bob Jacobson said, Mr. Britt is trying to try 5 or 6 cases here rather than one. The judge agreed, but allowed Britt to continue presenting evidence from the other cases as a means of establishing Velma's pattern of intent.
Yeah.
Which I think is right.
I think that's fair.
Now, arguing in Velma's defense, Bob Jacobson presented an equally simple case to the jury. He said she was raised by an extremely violent man who terrorized the entire household. And so she went on to develop mental illness and a severe drug addiction in adulthood that caused her to lose control and made her psychotic and violent.
So he wasn't arguing that she hadn't murdered Stewart. He was saying she did it in insanity.
Basically the insanity thing. Now, Jacobson noted that his client had, like we said, killed Stewart Taylor, but she had done so in a psychotic, manic state and therefore could not be held accountable for her actions. I don't agree.
Yeah.
Now, moreover, Velma maintained that she had always intended only to make her victims sick. Remember, I was just going to make them sick.
Right.
Just to buy myself enough time to give back that money.
Not true.
She never intended to kill them, even though she did it 6 times the exact same way.
That's the thing.
And again, that was the problem, is that Britt had already established that she had done this 6 times. Same outcome every time. So he was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And she actually was on the stand at one point, Velma. They brought her on the stand and she was very combative. She did not help herself.
So
she came off as a real asshole. So for a case as complicated and emotionally charged as Velma's was, it was pretty surprising because it moved pretty quickly. Once the trial began on November 27th, 1978, both sides rested within a week.
Wow.
And the jury was also quick to make their decision. They deliberated for a little over an hour and returned a verdict of guilty.
Yeah.
And then they deliberated a little more than 3 hours before delivering a recommendation that Velma be executed in the state's gas chamber.
Shit.
Now, when the verdict and sentence was delivered, Velma was emotionless. She just sat there. She was chewing gum, just sitting there. But her daughter, Kim, was sitting few rows behind her and just started sobbing.
Of course.
And I just can't even imagine.
Because it's like she already was dealing with such a strained relationship
And
with
now
her
this
mom.
comes out.
And you find this out.
And to find out she killed your grandmother.
Oh my God. I didn't even think
who
of
you got
that.
along with.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Like what a heavy.
Your grandmother and multiple, like your mother killed elderly people, including your grandmother. Wow.
Yeah. So for prosecutor Joe Britt, who was an ardent proponent of the death penalty, the verdict was a huge victory. He said, if there's ever been a case deserving imposition of the ultimate penalty, this is it. He told reporters, through a callous, malicious, indifferent act, Mrs. Barfield killed him dead, and he's gone for eternity. Which I was like, I mean, that's what death is, but
exactly.
Thank you. And it was just him emphasizing, I think, but I was like, yeah, I could have done without that.
You don't have to get flowery with it.
Now, removed from the courtroom and taken to a maximum security wing at the Women's Correctional Center in Raleigh, Velma became the second woman on death row since the state reintroduced capital punishment the previous year.
Wow.
During a jailhouse interview that they did, I think about a week after the sentence was passed, Velma told reporters she was guilty of the murder. And she said if she was given a choice, she was not interested in appealing her sentence. She said, personally, I don't want an appeal. Personally, I'd rather go ahead. The day is February 9th. And that was the day they had set for her execution.
Jesus.
Whether she meant what she told the reporters or was just kind of like talking a big game in front of cameras, nobody really knows. But Velma did appear remarkably calm in the days after the sentence was delivered.
Well, she had attempted to take her life multiple times, so it seems like maybe she was ready to...
She said, I know people are saying poor old Velma sitting up there on death row. And I was like, I don't know if many people are saying that, but okay.
Yeah,
she said, but I wish they wouldn't, because I know when the final breath comes, it will just be goodbye here and hello on the other side. I have joy unspeakable.
I don't know what other side you're prepared for.
Yeah, I don't know. Especially with what you believe in. I don't know if you're going to the great one here.
Yeah.
Now, after being delivered to the Women's Correctional Center, she became sober for the first time.
Wow, that's shocking.
And told the press that she had traded all of that for a newfound commitment to Christ. She said, I'm off drugs, thank the Lord. And she said, I turned all this trouble over to the hands of the Lord months before the trial. He doesn't promise to go part of the way and then drop us.
Okay.
So it's like, okay. While Velma may have been ready to go forward with the execution as it had been scheduled, turned out the state was not ready to do that. Following her conviction and the sentencing, her case became the subject of many appeals on her behalf in the years that followed. And the execution date got scheduled, rescheduled multiple times. There were tons of stays of execution pending the outcome of her appeals.
So there can be appeals placed even if you don't...
On your behalf. It can, like, when things change too, when, like, laws change or bills go into effect.
Yeah.
They will take another look at the case just...
even if you don't
care even it out with because they have to even it out with the laws that are happening or anything. And in that time, Velma's story and defense had time to change and evolve from what was presented in the court a few years later.
Oh, God.
In her 1978 defense, Bob Jacobson argued that Velma was an emotionally disturbed, essentially he called her a drug addict who was unable to control her actions. Like, he was really pushing almost like that kind of narrative, and could not be held responsible for the outcome of anything she did. But by 1980, Velma had become a born-again Christian and was no longer welcoming an execution. She said, I know I've been forgiven, just like I have been able to forgive all the people I felt had hurt me so many times and those I felt so bitter towards.
I always wonder how people know so strongly that they've been forgiven.
Well, and also,
that's a lot to bet
you know
on.
who hasn't forgiven you? I'm pretty sure the family members of the people you killed.
Yeah.
I think those are the ones you need to worry about forgiving you.
Probably.
But she doesn't care about that. She's curious. I forgive myself. It's good.
To me, that's just like straight up delusion.
At
least in this case.
I also love the what a shit-tastic way of saying it too. It's not like I've been forgiven. She's like, I've been forgiven, and don't worry, I've forgiven everybody else too. And it's like, oh, okay. I'm really glad that you've forgiven everybody, Velma.
Yeah, same old Velma.
Now, around the same time, it seemed Velma had also changed her mind about not wanting to appeal her sentence. And in 1980, she filed an appeal with the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals in a petition for a writ of habeas corpus. Among other things, the petition argued that Velma had received inadequate representation and her rights had been violated when the trial judge refused her request for additional counsel at the state's expense. In defense of his effective defense, Bob Jacobson explained to the court that Velma was a very difficult client in a very difficult case, and additional court-appointed attorneys were unlikely to have made the defense any more successful. He said, I counseled her to be a sympathetic witness, to look like somebody's mother and evoke sympathy. And he said, frankly, I felt she would get into an argument with District Attorney Joe Freeman Britt, and my fears came to pass. And he was referring to Velma being so combative and so fucking unpleasant on the stand when she was being questioned by Britt.
Yeah.
He was like, be a mom. Like, act sympathetic.
Do your best.
And she was just like, fuck you guys. Like, I don't give a shit. Now, the court rejected the appeal and upheld the verdict and the sentencing, writing, when the petitioner's forecast of evidence is assessed in its best light possible, in conjunction with those elements of respondents' opposing materials that are not disputed, it simply fails to raise more than a basis for bald conjecture. Now, by the early 1980s, Velma's case became a major talking point for politicians in North Carolina, in particular Governor Jim Hunt during his re-election campaign against Senator Jesse Helms in 1984. Hunt tried to minimize the issue of the death penalty during the campaign. He said, I think the effect of the death penalty will be to cause less taking of life when people do premeditate and plan in advance. That is untrue.
Yeah.
Doesn't do shit.
Sir.
Supporters of capital punishment agreed, with one proponent of Velma's sentence telling reporters, we live by the law or we go into a country of anarchism.
Okay.
It's like, studies have said that it doesn't help. So, just saying. By 1984, Velma had exhausted her appeals, and barring a stay of execution or clemency from the governor, was scheduled to die on November 2nd, 1984. And although clemency was very unlikely by that fall, Stewart's mother and daughter, as well as 9 family members of the other victims, met with the governor and urged him not to interfere with the execution.
That's sad that they even had to do that.
They were worried that he was going to suddenly step out. Stewart's daughter, Alice, said, she's an outstanding liar. A serial killer does not want help. They enjoy killing, and Velma Barfield enjoys killing. And that is the truth. I agree with Alice. Lawyers working, and we've said this many times about the death penalty where we stand, but I agree with her on that sentiment that I don't believe she should have left jail.
No, I don't either. I think I'm at a place where I feel like the death penalty for me is so gray and more case by case.
Yeah.
In this case, I tend to agree with it.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I think she should have just been in prison.
I think she didn't give a shit for what she did. So it was like,
yeah.
A lot of times I want people to remain in prison so they have to think about it all the time.
Yeah.
I think it sounds to me like she didn't think about it very often. She didn't give a shit.
That's true. But lawyers working on Velma's behalf had argued tirelessly for a stay in the weeks leading up to her execution. But on November 1st, Velma accepted her fate and asked them to stop. The next morning at 2:15 a.m., Marja Velma Barfield died by lethal injection at North Carolina's Central Prison. She was the first woman executed in the United States in 22 years.
Wow.
And what one witness said, I didn't notice any kind of suffering at all. She just seemed to relax.
Yeah.
And it's
What
like,
a
I don't see the justice in that.
fucking case.
Because it's like it's not even done. But
Oh my God, what?
We're almost done. But like that's where I've gotten off the death penalty, because I'm like, there's no justice in that. Look at what the witness just said. There's no suffering at all. She just relaxed.
But who knows?
But her victims went through fucking agony. In their final moments.
But it's like, was she suffering when she was sitting in prison?
I would rather her just sitting there. I mean, give her a few more years. I'm sure she would.
I do see your point.
You know,
I
I'm just like,
understand.
I'm like, let her sit around and have nothing to do.
To me, I feel like there's no, in Velma's case, no justice with that.
There's
either.
really no justice anywhere, because you can't have justice when 6 people were fucking horrifically murdered. It's like there really is no justice anywhere. And it's like, I don't want to watch. It's so hard, because it's like, you're not like, give her arsenic poisoning and let her die that way. Like, that's fucked up. But like, like as like a human being, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's like, I'd rather her just be bye. Yeah. See you later. Like,
I don't know how I would. I think you wouldn't know how you would feel unless it happened to you.
And again, I'm not a family member, so
that's the thing.
I speak from an outside position, never having had to deal with somebody taking my family member away.
And I do wonder, and this is just like a pure thought of, I don't know, if I was a family member of one of those people that she killed, would I want her killed? Like, is that justice? Like, would I want her still to be able to breathe oxygen that my family should be breathing?
I have no idea. So it's like, I can speak, and like, I fully recognize the privilege of being able to speak from a place where my family member was not taken from me by a murderer.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say I totally understand what I would do. And that's why I'm like, And I got to give it to whatever the family members want. I tend to agree with. Like, even in this case, the family members didn't want her execution stopped. That's what they wanted.
Stop it. Right.
Then that's what I have to go with.
And in a way, is that justice? Like, is that a slice of justice because they had a say in the end?
Because they got a say in it. Because even like in the Boston bombing case, the family members came forward and said they didn't want him executed. Right. And I was like, then don't execute it. Like, if that's what they want. Like,
I almost feel like it kind of should lie with the family members.
I know, it kind of feels like they'll all come out in the end.
Yeah, like a jury maybe, and this is just me thinking, like a jury convict, and then the family members that are remaining decide the fate.
But it could get
that could get so fucking messy.
But it's like, I don't know. That's the thing. It's so hard. That's why I'm always like shocked when somebody can have such a black and white opinion about things. Because I'm like, it's just so much gray.
I don't think a lot of things in life are black and white.
The human condition is not an easy thing to just put into boxes, I feel like. So it's like, this is not.
Because even within a family, people might disagree.
Exactly. That's the thing. And it's all really, what you've dealt with. Yeah. So it's like fucked up.
It's no
but
matter
for anybody
who's
had to be in that position, I'm sorry you've ever had to be in that position, because again,
awful.
That must be an impossible position to be in. But just before the doctors did execute her, Warden Nathan Rice asked her if there was anything she wanted to say. And she said, I want to say that I'm sorry for the hurt that I've caused. I know that everybody has gone through a lot of pain, all the families connected, and I'm sorry.
That was nice that she used her final words for that, I guess.
Because some of them don't.
Yeah, most of them don't. Things.
Now, later that day, Ronnie Burke spoke to reporters about his mother's final days. And he said, I want people to know she wanted to live very badly. She wanted to live for her grandchildren. We miss her already.
And that's really sad.
And that's what makes me say, that's the thing.
And that's where you do sit in the gray.
So many parts that you're just like, well, fuck. And it's like, that's...
Because her kids didn't deserve that.
And I think, and again, I'm going to go with, the victim's family members here. I'll never go against them for what they wanted, and they wanted that to happen, and that is perfectly fine. But that's why the death penalty can be tricky, because you can't reverse it. And
there are victims where, like, there's victims that were killed, but I would say her children are victims
Absolutely.
as well.
There's far-reaching fuck-uppery that happens when something like that happens, and there's so many different... like a nasty onion of just like layers of people affected by it.
By one person's
And they all
actions.
get different treatment You know, like it's like the kids get different treatment, and then the victim's family. Like there's so many different layers here. It's sad.
That makes me overall. Her children never got what they should have.
My heart
received
breaks
from her.
obviously for the victims' families, and my heart
100 times
breaks
over.
for her kids because, like we said throughout this whole thing, they just tried to be the best son and daughter they could.
Yeah.
2 days later, after the execution, Velma Barfield was buried beside her first husband, Thomas Burke, in a funeral attended by nearly 200 people.
Wow.
In the eulogy, Reverend Philip Carter noted that Velma was no stranger to suffering, but during her 6 years in prison, she had become a born-again Christian and helped many of the other inmates at the Correctional Center for Women. He said she wanted to be known as a good Christian and nothing else. That's what Ronnie told reporters, and I was like, unfortunately, that is not what she's going to be known as.
And you can't wipe away.
He was hoping that the good that his mother had done in the last years of her life would offset a little bit of the pain she had caused, which, like, that's definitely a child speaking of his, or not a child. I mean, like
his inner child.
His inner child speaking for his mother.
Absolutely.
Which I can understand, but unfortunately, she's a serial killer.
And that will never go away for
she has
what she did to those families.
Unfucking thinkable deeds. And she has shattered countless lives.
Yeah.
And I mean, she sat there and watched these people go through something that I couldn't watch my worst enemy go through. So,
wow.
Velma,
you were
I told
lying.
you this was a real...
interesting, though. Like, she's very interesting to hear about.
A real ride.
Yeah, because in the way you were saying, like, it seemed like she wasn't capable of love with what she did to people that she claimed to love. And then she did seem like she could love with the way that she treated her kids.
Yeah.
Like, she treated them badly in certain areas of life where, like, she just expected to be able to live with them and fuck up their lives. But then she took care of them as children and, like, felt physically ill when she was away from them.
And it's like, it looks like when she, like, found Jesus or whatever she did in prison, it's like she seemed like she was trying to do better things, like, in there. And it's like, so would she have just, you can never take away what she did, but it's like, could she have been imprisoned for the rest of her life and maybe
reformed in
at
prison.
least reformed to the point of, like, you look at it and go, well, okay, like, that it turned around, but she's in prison, like.
I do think as a society we need to be more open to the idea that people can be reformed.
Yeah.
And I think even as a human myself, I need to be more open to that idea.
It's hard because some people can't.
And then that's the thing.
That's the thing. It's like not everybody can, I don't believe, at least. Like,
I know.
I think there are some people, trust me, we've covered some of them.
Yeah.
That there's no fucking way.
But I do think we need to explore it more.
Yeah.
I
mean, everything needs such an overhaul.
Yeah.
Like, it really does. Like, the justice system is in extreme need of an overhaul.
This one really got me thinking.
Yeah, it does. This one, because it's a strange one.
It's layered.
And a disturbing one.
Yeah.
She's very awful. But, like, fuck.
And it's like, and who knows, if she ever got out, like, could she have really been reformed, or would she have done this again? Would somebody fucking annoy her and she?
Well, that's the thing. I don't
arsenic?
think she should be. I don't think she could have been let out. I think so. I think she had that disposition. I don't think was going anywhere. But maybe she could have been contained in prison and been maybe more of a I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. Like a decent member of, society in there somewhere.
Right.
But like, I don't think she should have been let back out into ours.
Yeah.
But fuck.
Damn. Yeah. The wheels are turning for sure.
Yeah.
Hope yours are too. That was captivating for sure.
Oh, good.
And I'm really sorry to all of the victims.
I know
that she
took away loved ones from, and her kids.
Yeah. Wow. So with that, we hope you keep listening.
And we hope you
keep
it weird.
But it's so weird that you go by arsenic poison when somebody annoys you, because that's really not a way to handle anything, baby.
Yeah, don't
go
do
to talk therapy, or I don't know, get a smoothie.
Get a smoothie.
You wouldn't take financial advice from a 72 hours in a single day alpha influencer, would you? Same goes if you're in a car accident or any accident. Who you choose matters. That's why Morgan & Morgan exists. They're the largest injury law firm in America, and they've built a reputation by actually winning cases, not just talking about it. Over 1,000 lawyers across all 50 states and $30 billion recovered. Injured? Go to forthepeople.com/podcast. That's forthepeople.com/podcast.
Traditional home security only alerts you after a break-in, and that's too late. Simply Safe is changing that.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
We don't just alert, we stop crime before it starts. Simply Safe, plan starting around $1 a day. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/SXM or with promo code SXM.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.